Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the newest episode of the Theater Enthusiast podcast. I am delighted to welcome our next guests. They are the founders of the Holy City Arts and Lyric Opera, also known as Halo, not to be confused with the game or the TV show on Paramount Plus now, which I keep seeing commercials for. Anyway, it is not it is, but please welcome Dimitri Pittas. Yeah, I got it. See, I told you I was gonna get it. I was gonna get it. And
Nailed
Leah
it.
Edwards. Woo! You be your own hype, people. Woo woo.
Woo, what?
Woo woo. I always tell people I used to have an applause app on my phone that I would like use over Zoom.
Yeah.
And then for after a while using it, it just like cuts out on my guest's end. So I'm like, I'm just gonna manually look like a fool and just go, what?
We were feeling the love.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
I feel it back, even though I wasn't wooed, but it's fine. I woo myself in my head. And I think I deleted the app, but people are like, oh, do you use that applause app for yourself? And I was like, honestly, no, I don't.
Oh,
It's okay.
I have an app that our 6-year-old really loves. It's the Budum app.
Mm,
It's basically one button and it goes Budum. That's it. That's all it does. But he just gets a kick out of it every time he pulls it up.
I just naturally do it, or if there's a table available,
yeah.
an app when you can just use vocals,
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely.
right? I
Yeah.
feel like that
Your
could be like a
surroundings.
whole conversation with you guys. Like, let's talk about vocal things you can do without apps because you guys are both opera singers. And that
Yeah.
could be like, here's an opera app. Learn opera. No, go learn it from an opera singer, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, before we get off on apps, let's start from the very beginning. Where are you guys from?
Go ahead, ladies first.
Oh, thank
Yeah.
you. I was raised in Richmond, Virginia. Moved away from there when I was 15 and went to Interlochen Arts Academy in Michigan. Left there, went to Eastman School of Music in Rochester, New York, and then went to the Juilliard School for my master's.
Very fancy.
And stayed in New York a long time until that magic wore off after about 15 years and moved to where there's sunshine and palm trees and I can spin in a circle and not hit anyone.
Like have you done like your Maria Sound of Music turn on a mountain? Have
Absolutely.
that in South Carolina? I don't. One of my best friends is from there. I haven't asked her. I'm from New York.
The beaches are good for them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dimitri, what about you?
I was born on the east side of Manhattan, and New York Hospital doesn't exist anymore.
Mm.
Grew up
You
in
turn it
Woodside.
into apartments.
Yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
There's that really big white building that is next to. It's still there. It's what it was next to what the hospital was, or so my mother tells me. I don't actually remember. It really wasn't there much beyond my birth, I think. So anyway, I grew up in Woodside, Queens, the good side. And then my family moved to the North Shore of Long Island to East Setauket.
County, I'm assuming.
Sorry, Suffolk County, exit 62. Yeah, that was in the mid 80s. Once you got beyond 62, it really was like the sticks. Like you didn't see anything except for green highway side signs of telling you about the next exit. And the last exit on the LIE is exit 72 Riverhead, and by then it was like corn and potato country. That was it. That's what was there in the 80s, and now it's just a completely different place. But we moved to I moved back into Woodside in 2003 and lived there until 2015 when Leah and I moved to Charleston, South Carolina.
And here we are today.
And here we are. Yeah.
we are.
So what got you both interested in performing, and when did you discover that you have these like incredible operatic voices?
I have been told, have been performing since I came out of my mother's womb.
The age-old adage, right? I was performing out of womb.
Yes,
Yeah.
I was born on the 4th of July to the fireworks, and so that's where my flair for the dramatic began.
Were you actually born on the 4th of July? Because that would
I
be,
was, yeah,
wow.
with the fireworks around 9:07, so I'm told.
Oh,
And was born in Fairfax, Virginia, where they could see all the pretty stuff, all the fireworks happening in DC. So, uh, I like to be right there at the center of how all this
maybe
works.
that should have been like your introduction, like Leah Edwards, and then just like firework sounds.
Firework.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Generally.
Be your entrance, like from now on, like please welcome Leah Edwards. Why I was about to say Williams. That's not right. That's I think a different actress. Sorry.
I'll take it. Who is she? Is she fabulous?
Yeah. Mhm.
And then I started in gymnastics when I was 4 and really loved that, and got very competitive at the age of 4. And my mom said, yeah, maybe let's not do that. And so I went into ballet instead, and then got very competitive there and was dancing professionally when I was 10.
Mhm.
And then when I was 7, actually, my sister started taking piano lessons, and I wanted to do everything that my big sister wanted to do. And so I started playing piano, and really just never wanted to stop practicing ever.
Yeah.
And I used to actually tell my friends, I would make my mom tell my friends that I was grounded so that I could practice, and I didn't have to say that I was practicing. She's thrilled with that still to this day.
Well, aren't you also an award-winning pianist?
I am.
Yeah.
I have won those things.
Mhm.
And that was at 10 years old. I remember sitting down. I was dancing professionally, and I was really moving into the world of competitive piano.
Mhm.
And they wanted me to take another ballet class, technique class, and my mom sat me down, and we wrote my 7 days a week, morning to evening. And she was like, show me where the time is, and I will let you do it. There's literally no more time. I was practicing before school, 5 a.m. to 7, going to school all day. She would pick me up. I would eat in the car. I would change in the car. I would go to dance. And she was just like, there's just, I can't fix the time. There's no more time for you.
Mhm.
And so I was devastated. But then, so I stopped dancing ballet professionally, and then I went into tap and jazz and hip hop and all the other things that were fun, and tried to do those competitively too. And then my mom was like, remember this time when you were 10? And we like, there's no time. So I had moved in to really working on piano specifically at that time. And so I sort of danced for fun, which was dancing for fun was a new thing for me.
Yeah.
And playing piano. And I ended up, I'd been playing a lot of chamber music, and was really focused on being a solo pianist, and ended up at Interlochen for boarding school for 2 years, which is performing arts all day long. And it was a magical wonderland of, I found my people who wanted to practice as much as I did, and nobody had to say they were grounded. We all just looked at each other. We're like, no, I can't, I have to practice. And then, so I don't know. I know the question was, when did you first know? I mean, I really, this is who I am at my core, and I have loved, I am fueled by making art collaboratively. So it's always been I've never wanted to be a soloist of kinds. I've always wanted to work in collaborative artistic environments. I'm really, really deeply fueled and exhilarated by making art and being creative with other people.
And where did you discover the singing aspect?
Oh yeah, singing. I forgot about that part. So
Well, I
I
mean,
went
we are talking about your opera,
I forgot, this is the lead up to that. No, so I actually went to my undergrad as a pianist. And they really want your freshman year at Eastman, they focus very strongly on your solo technique.
Mhm.
And I was sort of losing my mind because I said, I need to play chamber music. We, the Ying Quartet was in residence there, and they had a fabulous collaborative piano department and all these singers and instrumentalists, and just like, I needed to play with them, and they didn't want to let me do that. And so they said, you want to collaborate, freshman? We'll put you as an accompanist in a voice studio and you'll never ask again. And instead, what happened is this teacher, people would come into her studio, like not sounding great. And they would leave, and she had somehow found the pixie dust in that lesson. And so I said, I would really love to sing. Can I take a lesson? And it was, fine, whatever, let's take a lesson. And like 15 minutes in, she was like, oh, no, you need to do this. And I said, sure, that's a thing, because I've been really focused on a different instrument for a long time. Anyway, I double majored for a year, and that is too challenging at conservatory. And so I changed my major to voice and graduated with a degree in voice, and then ended up doing my master's in opera and going on from there to the Santa Fe Opera, and then various and sundry other places where I sing. And then got sucked back into musical theater in New York. And so now I just sort of straddle these worlds of, I think we're all called crossovers now.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I was going to say someone's name, but I don't like her, so I'm not going to say it. She won Grammys. That's all I'm going to say. No, we don't say the name. And to me,
no, I'm so grateful. The world's most annoying thing that people always say who come to give master classes or whatever is like, everyone's on their own path. And that is the most annoying thing to say, except that, my path is completely unique and fun and turbulent and wonderful. And I've done all of these amazing things and had incredible opportunities and worked with fabulous artists. And, now I run an arts organization, right? Like, I mean, who knows? Who knows what's next? Maybe I'll be an anthropologist. I don't.
You never know.
Why not?
Yeah. So Dimitri, now it is your turn. So how does this like guy born on the east side of New York in a hospital that shut down right after you were born?
Because he was born, probably.
They're like, Dimitri's born. We got to shut it down, guys. Last baby.
I was actually born. My mother loves telling the story that I was born with the umbilical cord wrapped around my neck.
Oh.
Yeah, and so she kind of says that's why I had such a strong voice. I don't know how choking on the organ that was feeding me for 9 months suddenly is like giving me power, but there it is.
It's the strength that like strengthened your neck and your vocal cords.
Yeah, I'm sure that's it. Yeah,
the stress of being strangled.
Preparing us
preparing us for the real strangulations of life.
Yeah, sometimes you feel the tension, Dimitri. You're like, I got this. I feel nothing. I was born ready for this.
Man, that is a wonderful way to move forward with life. Thanks for that. I appreciate it.
Feel free to use that anytime. Scare your children. When I was born, I had an umbilical cord around my neck. You can survive this.
Yeah. So that's my life in a nutshell. Yeah. I am
born in New York, had an umbilical cord wrapped around my neck, and here we are.
Now an opera singer.
Yeah.
No, I my music was always on in the house. My dad loved back then it was just rock. Now it's classic rock. And so, he would listen to, I would listen to records with him of, Steppenwolf and Iron Butterfly, and he had, with the Beatles, like everything. And then my mom also had these 78s of Enrico Caruso and stuff like that too, that she had from her parents. And And my mom was she loved the crooners. She was big into, Tony Bennett, obviously Blue Eyes. And so it was always on in the house.
I just want to say, for those who are listening who don't know who Blue Eyes is, it's Frank Sinatra. So I'm just putting it out there for those
Old Blue Eyes
who
himself.
don't know, because we could have some young people listening, and they
Yeah,
might be,
that's true. That's
what's
true.
that? Old
Yeah.
Blue Eyes. It's
And
Frank.
Tony had a big, huge resurgence with Lady Gaga, but even before then, from when he was on the MTV Unplugged like that, that was, I guess it was like the mid-90s when that happened, and all of a sudden he was just like everywhere. And the only thing that you knew about Tony Bennett prior to that was that he had syphilis or something like that. That's all I knew about him. He was a singer and he had syphilis or gonorrhea or something. And then next thing, yeah, no, seriously, like that was what I knew about him. And then all of a sudden he was like this person that was singing, and I was a 17-year-old listening to him in high school, and I was like, that's what I want to do. That was it. Like I put the STD aside, and I was like, that's what I want to do. I want to sing like Tony Bennett.
This might sound like kind of bad or aging myself, but I feel like I've kind of known who Tony Bennett is, but I don't think like he's really like entered my head until like Alec Baldwin did his impressions of him on SNL.
On SNL, yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's probably where my like more introduction to Tony Bennett kind of, not to age any of us.
No, it's fine. I back in the days, I used to go to the library with my library card, and I used to take out these thing called compact discs. And back then there was a compact disc set of all of Tony Bennett's his entire anthology, basically, minus the amazing recordings with Bill Evans. And so I had all of those, and I made them all into tapes and at home, and I had them, and that's basically what it is.
Mixtape?
You bet it. Yes, of course I did. From a CD, because I didn't have a CD player in my car, so I had to make a
CDs now. I understand. I will say, like, when Pretty Woman was on Broadway, 100% my guilty pleasure musical, one of the smartest things they did was at the merch booth, they actually sold a cassette tape of the Broadway cast recording. I did not buy it, but I was like, that's brilliant.
I love it.
Yes.
And they've made a comeback. Like right over here, we have a phonograph that plays CDs, and it's got a little cassette tape on the side too. So all of my Fish bootleg recordings from the 90s and the early 2000s, I can play them again. It's really cool.
Nice. Sorry, I live Manhattan, Sirens, all that fun stuff.
Oh yeah.
So, what brought you to, hold on, the graduate of the Metropolitan Opera's Liedman Young Artist Development Program?
Yeah.
Say that 10 times fast, guys.
It was pretty quick. Yeah, I grew up, 6th grade, I was in the Music Man, and I kind of fell in love with being on stage. And so I went through theater arts all through junior high and high school, and singing in the shows. And I played the euphonium, which is, some people call it the baritone, for 6 years. And then I decided that I wanted to just sing in the choir, because I couldn't do both. And then it was time for me to decide on school. And my father, who was an immigrant, he came to America when he was 14 years old from Greece. He wanted me to have a good, steady job. And so he wanted me to be a teacher. And of course, I'm like, hey, yeah, that's a great job. You work for 9 months, you get paid for 12, at least so I thought. And but what am I going to teach? And I thought, well, the two things I'm good at are music and math. And so I decided to go into music, to be a music educator. And that's why I went to SUNY Potsdam, the Crane School of Music, which is where 90% of the music educators on Long Island get their degree from.
I'm from Long Island, so I keep like nodding my head along to every time I hear Long Island.
Yeah. So I went there, and I kind of like Leah, I went in going with one degree, and I came out with another. I went in to be a music educator, and I came out a performer. I landed in the voice studio of an opera teacher, and he showed me that I had a potential with my voice, and I fell in love with it. So
I've been pronouncing your name wrong this whole time. I've been calling you Leah. It's Leah.
It is.
That's not okay.
But I look, we've got 2 kids. Hey, you, or mom, or whatever. Like
that's not. I apologize. I'm gonna call you Leah from now on, because that is your name.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Leah, did I say it wrong again? Jesus Christ. I'm sorry.
Just like the princess. Just think the princess.
Yeah, Leah.
There you go.
Yeah,
There you go.
yeah.
My God, my brain is so dead. There, anyway, you were saying, sir.
No, it's fine. Anyway, I did an undergrad, I did a master's degree. I went home back to Long Island. I spent a year living with my parents, and it was like the worst year of my life.
Mhm.
And then I was fortunate enough to get into the Lindemann Young Artist Development Program at the Metropolitan Opera, and I spent 3 years there. That's when I moved back to Queens in 2003. And the rest, as they say, is history.
Yeah.
I came out of there and hit the road running.
Yeah. I will say, I want to talk about you performing at the Met, not to single that out or you out, but I love Lincoln Center. It is one of my favorite places in New York. So I really would love to know what it's like to perform on that iconic opera stage. I've seen operas there, I've seen the ballet there. It's a beautiful historical venue. Just it's the two of the performances that I like pulled out. You played Rodolfo. Hopefully, I'm pronouncing that name
You
correctly.
got it. Good job. Well done.
Ma Boheme.
Yeah.
For those musical theater fans, it's Roger and Rent. And then Macduff in Macbeth.
Yeah.
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 So what is it? Some of the two of the many performances you have done there, but what is it like performing on that stage?
Well, first let me say I don't think anybody in their entire career will ever get used to it. It is that monumental in every way, and anybody who says that they feel like they belong there are just selling you something else, because it really is very special to be there every single time that you're there. And I was very fortunate to sing a bunch of roles there so far in my career. um it's a beautiful hall. It's very big. It is live. Like you do hear your voice come back to you. It might take a second and a half or 2 seconds before it gets back to you. But all of the beautiful rosewood vibrates really beautifully, and you don't ever feel like you're just singing into a void. You do feel, even though it's 4,000 seats big or close to that, that you still are singing in some sort of acoustic space, which is really lovely.
I do.
But
Sorry, go ahead.
no, it's okay, because it is big, and because the orchestra sound usually goes away from you when you're on stage, and they don't use any sort of microphones or
Mhm.
speakers for monitors. You have to, more often than not listen, and just either watch, or and that either means the conductor, who's like a good 25 or 30 feet away from you on the other side of the pit,
Mhm.
or the souffleur, the prompter that's in the prompting box at the lip of the stage. They are really the saviors at that house.
Yeah.
They're amazing conductors, they're amazing listeners. They get your attention whenever they need to. If they feel like you're falling behind, or if you're a little off, they get you really quickly and get you right back on. And they're the red blood cells of that organism.
Yeah. I do want to ask because I don't know opera as well as I do like musical theater and plays and all that stuff. You mentioned that it takes a second to like hear yourself, I guess, with like feedback.
Mhm.
Can you explain what that means?
Well, my experience is in musical theater is that everybody is mic'd, and so there's always a potential for you to get some sort of feedback of your voice, or they can pipe in the music, so you always feel supported to some extent, whether it's from hearing yourself or hearing the blend of everything. And with opera, this most of the time when we're singing, because we are creating such a full sound all of the time with our bodies, that once we start singing, it filters out a lot of what it is that you're actually getting from the orchestra. And so you just, the feedback that you're actually getting is your voice going out a couple of 100 feet and then bouncing off of those walls and coming back to you. And so that's where that delay is. And so if you're listening for yourself,
Mhm.
you're going to be late every single time. So you just have to kind of keep sending it out there, and like a surfer on a surfboard, right? Like the pit for the orchestra is the wave, and you're just the surfboard on it, just carrying, and it's carrying you, instead of always trying to struggle to stay on it. You just kind of become one with it, in a sense. So that's how it's created. That's how the magic is created. But if you try listening for yourself, to say, oh, I sound good, or what did that note sound like? The second you start doing that, you start dragging musically, and then you have a conductor that's like, let's go, kind of thing. So
Especially when you're doing something like La Boheme, like let's
well,
go.
yeah. It's hard. It's hard, in pieces like that where there's, rubato, where there's giving and taking of the tempo. Sometimes in Puccini, for example, it's like bar to bar, or sometimes half bar at a time. It'll
Yeah.
be a completely different tempo, a different feeling, and the conductor can only make a 60-person orchestra follow you so much,
Yeah.
right? And that orchestra is phenomenal. They will follow you. They have an ear on the stage the entire time. But it's really helpful to know what you're doing from all of the rehearsals, so that when you get out there, you have the confidence, and that the orchestra and the conductor have the confidence that everything is going to go the way it's supposed to be going.
Yeah. I do want to ask this question that is very interesting to me because, again, I'm not super opera-y. So as someone who's like newer to that information, I personally think that's really fascinating. So thank you for sharing that. I like that's really like I'm nerding out a little bit. That's like really cool. Um, I mean, I probably could ask this like once we talk a little bit more about Halo, but because you guys do many different types of performances and different theater pieces, immersively, different theaters throughout South Carolina, what would you say is the hardest performance piece that you've ever had to do? And would you ever want to do it with Halo, or have you?
Oh, so what have we done personally?
Yes.
Is it something that we would do with Halo?
Ooh.
That's a really good question.
Thank you. I just came up with it
Yeah.
because of your very, I don't, I don't think thoughtful, informative piece of information you just gave about what it's like singing in the opera house.
So this is what's been so funny about the entire origin and existence of Halo, is that, as opera singers, we train sing acoustically, right? This our bodies plus these beautiful halls that have been built to have a good acoustic for those of us singing acoustically to sing into this beautifully acoustic building.
Yeah.
When we started Halo, the intention, of course, when we incorporated, was to be singing in theaters. And then when the world shut down and we were outside, but there's not acoustic outside, friends. When you stand in front of a pickup truck and you sing out, like, are you singing across the water? That's a lovelier acoustic than singing into a cul-de-sac, a park, a brick building. So many places that either your sound goes and then just keeps going because it has nothing to bounce off of, or it hits a brick building and you get nothing back. And so that it's so the first time we were back in any sort of acoustic space after we'd been singing outside for 2 years was like, oh, okay. It's almost a readjustment of our instruments and the way we use our bodies. And because there's, like Dimitri was saying at the Met, it goes out. And so your body and your ears and your voice start to adjust to the amount of time before you get that sound bouncing back at you. Because you have to, but like on the Met stage, that becomes a sort of whatever, something you're used to. And then, but here we were going everywhere, every day. And the only other option is to just like let go of expecting to hear sound back. And it's a little freeing. It's a little terrifying. It's a little bit like, I don't know. It was such an interesting journey for us. And then we did actually part of this in producing these bigger shows in these unconventional venues, baseball stadiums, historic batteries that don't have that acoustic. To play to 1,000 people, we have to mic. So then it sort of starts to blend these worlds of expectation of getting sound back versus expectation of just singing and having it go somewhere else.
Yeah.
So it's a weird question with how we would do with Halo, because it's such a different challenge every time we've.
Do you think that audiences who are experiencing opera for the first time really know the difference on whether or not an opera singer is supposed to be mic'd or not?
We actually think more often than not they do think that we're mic'd. I mean, those are our experiences.
Yeah.
At least in engaging with our community down here,
Mhm.
particularly the children, they always just are completely blown away by the size of our voices and the power of our voices. And when
Yeah.
they find out that we're doing it without the use of a microphone, they're just like, it just doesn't compute for them, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, adults are the same. I think adults think that if you sing, you use a microphone, and sort of culturally.
Yeah.
And it's always interesting to watch people say, what do you mean you like never use a mic? Today we did an interview and the guy came and he was like, what mics do you want? And Dimitri and I are like, do you need them for the sound stage?
Yeah, we were in a little TV studio.
We're good. And
Were
it
you
was
talking or were you singing?
Well, we had an interview
did
and then
both.
we did a
Okay.
performance right afterwards.
But then they were like, sure, just run through some stuff. And so we were singing.
And they suggested that they were going to use the lapels that we were using for our things. And I was kind of like, you might not want to use that.
But
Yeah.
so they were like, okay, we'll see. And so they went back into the production studio, but then we were singing, they cut the mics, and then the people next door, apparently there was another sound studio next door that was like, could you guys not? We're in the middle of an interview. And so now we're like going through walls of buildings, and everyone in the studio was like, sing more, do it again.
Yeah.
We thought it was very, so I don't know. I mean, I think it's funny too, being in different spaces, being in different environments with people that aren't aware that there isn't a microphone aspect to opera.
Yeah. I mean,
Cool.
listen, back in the day, like Ethel Merman wasn't mic'd, it's so
Right.
so different now than it was so many moons ago,
Well, somebody in the present company was in a show at Lincoln Center doing Carousel,
Mhm.
and one of the artists, one of the principal artists, was an opera singer, and they did not have her mic'd because they didn't need to, like, even ambiently, it was just like completely unnecessary.
And we could say Renee Fleming, it's fine. I saw it, not in person.
That one wasn't Renee though. That was no.
Oh,
I'm talking about Stephanie Blythe.
so I'm wrong. What carousel am I thinking of that you were in? It's okay. We can.
Free Fisher. It was a New York Phil.
Yeah, but New York.
Okay. Who else was in it then?
O'Hara and Jesse Mueller and.
Okay. So maybe, you know what? You're right. I just think Renee Fleming for anything opera, I guess, but I know she did the
No,
Rebecca.
but she did it maybe.
Oh, no, I know. I did watch that PBS one because Kelly
Yeah.
O'Hara is my queen. I love her so much. Anyway,
Yeah.
she in Carousel is the one musical that will just make me like ugly cry from like the end of the first act all the way through to the second act. So, like
it's challenging to perform that, and that's also the reaction, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
When
So,
you're the one up on stage, ugly crying, and like, no,
Yeah.
this isn't.
I mean, granted, like 50 plus years later after it was written, it's kind of controversial, but like,
Yeah.
Anyway,
right? We talked about it. That was the fun part. Still, like, we got to, again, talking.
It's just very interesting because like to us, it's so controversial now, and maybe even talking about it and what I'm about to say might be like, oh no, but like back in the day, even back in the day, it was not okay that happened, but that was what was normal back in the day. To like write about those things and to behave that way was normal to the world, even though it's really like not okay that stuff went down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, and the purpose of art is to bring, you know, things that are happening in the world to the foreground, and to
Yeah.
make people think about it, you know.
Mhm.
And a great case in point was when you know, when the ban against cigarettes happened in New York City, right? There's a lot of art that came out as a result of that. Not necessarily talking about smoking, but talking about, you know, other things being banned, or like the soda ban, you know, the large gallons of soda that was banned, you know, for health purposes. Like there was a reaction
Yeah.
from that in the artistic world, and things came from that, you know. And so, you know, that was, you know, probably something that was happening more often than it should have been. And so that was their way of being like, hey, we need to, you know, at least shine a light on this, and
Yeah.
say like, this is not cool, this is not right.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah. Well, I agree. That's why art is important.
that's why
So
art is important.
It's why art is important.
it is. Now, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna on a light note, because I'm the ultimate optimist in this stuff. We were sort of laughing about how art imitates life, and we all know that saying and how it goes and all of the ways it goes. But we were on a family bike ride the other day, and we were listening to Peter and the Wolf, because our children require Peter and the Wolf on our bike rides. And we went past a pond, and there was a duck. It was the duck part, and there was a duck in the pond swimming to the exact like beat
Yep.
rhythm of the duck. And we laughed, and then the duck just dove straight into the pond, and you can hear Leonard Bernstein say, and then just like that, he dove into the pond. And it was the very funniest thing. And all four of us just like burst out laughing, because it was this magic moment of whether Tchaikovsky saw it and that's what was written, or whether, you know, Bernstein saw it and that was the moment that he narrated, or whatever it was. But like throughout history, from when it was written to now, literally today, it is so important that we reflect society and the world and humanity through art. It's so important.
Yeah.
That was all. That was just my soapbox when we were saying dark things, but I just wanted
But
to.
I like to keep it light. Something happened not great to me last Monday, and then I got a promising email about something that I saw at my desk, and I said, "Oh my God, I needed this." So I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if that email will come to fruition, but it's a nice optimistic thing to look forward to, and hopefully it will happen.
Yes.
Anyway,
Manifest.
yeah. Oh, I have a list. I made it's on my wall. It's great. So
You know, I
let's
often say to myself, I was born with an umbilical cord around my head.
Was
and
born
look what
ready.
you have accomplished. You survived that and have this rich, booming voice that you sang at the Metropolitan Opera House of New York as Roger in Rent. I'm sorry,
Lemonade.
I had to. Musical
That's
theater.
Roger. That's right.
Yeah. Now, what you have to do at your next concert is bring out your guitar and sing one song, Glory, and then do a mix with like a song from La Boheme. You're
I
welcome
mean,
for that idea.
I love that idea.
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
gotta learn the guitar again. You see it right back there.
I do see it, but I also see it. You try it on a ukulele. I don't know. Live your life.
And that's Tony Bennett right there. That photo
Oh,
is Tony
wow.
Bennett. Yeah.
Yeah, I have oh, I just realized I didn't change my calendar to February, but I have like a hot priest candle and a Timothy Chalamet prayer candle.
Perfect.
There you go.
So great.
I love
That's
it.
and like Disney prints and then other things on my wall that are not celebrity based. Anyway, so let's talk about, I'm assuming you guys were in New York, Princess Leia, as you said. You were like, oh, the hustle and bustle of New York. I'm over it. So what made you guys decide to move out of New York? And then at what point did Holy City, and I had to read it because I wrote it, I promise. Holy City Arts and Lyric Opera, aka HALO, which stands for High Art and Low Country, start? I did my research, don't worry.
You did.
That was
Thank you.
amazing.
That was
It was
great.
so good.
I know, I saw your face when I mentioned what school you went to. You're like, how does she know?
What else does she know?
Go on.
You have a photo of Tony Bennett on your wall, and you were born with an umbilical cord around your throat. I mean, like your neck. There's not really much else needed.
I have to make my mom listen to this podcast now. I just have to.
Yeah, please.
Um,
And then when you do your like, your mix of like Rent and La Boheme, Rodolfo, we call him.
Yes.
Yeah, you just have to send me like an audio of it.
okay.
Perfect.
I'm telling you, it's gonna
Getting a
take.
special shout out.
Yeah.
Oh, please.
Yeah.
That would be awesome.
Yeah.
Anyway, so
I do love that. Can you do that in a week and a half?
No,
Oh,
not in a week and a half.
okay.
No.
Next
Not
up.
unless
Well,
I
it
only
doesn't have
record
to-
requires the G, C, and F chords on the guitar. Otherwise, I need to do a little bit more
or
work.
just have like a gentleman or a lady or a non-binary, non-whatever, because I know you guys are also about diversity and inclusion at Halo.
Yeah.
You know, she, he, they, them, whomever would like to join you on the guitar.
Yeah. Can we find somebody that quickly?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. We'll work on it.
We're working
Again,
on it. We like your
it's just-
ideas.
Thank you. It does not have to be for your concert, which we will talk about, but and also like One Song Glory isn't really like a Valentine's Day song.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, he does sing Your Eyes at the end of Rent when Mimi is dying. So
Yeah.
there could,
It's a big love story though, right? And that's the magic.
I will say I've actually never seen La Boheme. It is like the one opera I do want to see, but I'm so afraid that I'm going to fall asleep during it.
Oh no.
No?
You,
Okay.
it is the one that will make you fall in love with opera.
Okay, good. Because I've seen
Talk
3.
about ugly crying through Carousel. I mean,
I know I ugly cried last week when I got that optimistic email, but that's a story for another time. No, I will say, like, I saw 3 operas. I saw Merry Widow, Così fan tutte, and Cinderella, and I worked a 10-hour shift at my old job, and then I saw Merry Widow, and I was like, I'm falling asleep. Così fan tutte, I was just tired before I went into that opera, and I was very
very long.
while seeing it. And then Cinderella, an hour and a half about Cinderella. I loved it. It was great.
Loved it or left it?
Oh, loved it. I loved it. Yeah.
Was it the matinee?
The French one?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
And it was a matinee.
Yeah.
If that's what
Yeah.
you asked. But yes.
Yeah.
Anyway, so let's talk about it. How did we decide like, bye New York. I'm done with musical theater and the Metropolitan Opera and other things here and the hustle and bustle and
No, it's better than that. It wasn't like getting rid of our careers. It was that we were so fancy that we could live anywhere we wanted to at that moment.
Ooh.
And so we thought we'd do that. I'm also a mountain human, and I left and I reveled in the mountains for a little bit, and I came back to New York and I was like, this is not the same. And so we talked about where to go. And the fun part about what we do, obviously, is that we can be anywhere.
Yeah.
And so we chose the route of going to a place neither of us had ever been to. Neither of us have any family. Neither of us.
I feel like this is an episode of House Hunters. Like, we're here with Leah and Dimitri, and they're in the market to buy a new home, and they're both opera singers, and they can travel. I'm on a House Hunters kick right now.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like where this is coming from in my head.
Well, and we, sort of delight in a game show too. We're on the Newlywed Game. It's a whole thing. We would House Hunters 100%.
Oh,
100.
I feel like you said you were on the Newlywed Game, or you?
Yeah.
Oh wow, it's all coming out.
Yeah. No, it's real.
At least.
We did not.
No.
We were the romance moment of the day, but we did not win.
Yeah.
Under any circumstances.
Oh, because we get wrong about each other.
No, it was
totally.
We did that. The one thing that you're not supposed to do, which is it was like kind of Inception. Like we went one too far deep on each other, and like so we were answering questions the way we thought the other person would answer it, as opposed to saying what It's just like we got into our heads really quickly, and
but it was really funny.
Really, funny and fun. We had a great time anyway.
Wow.
Yeah.
Great.
And Leah has been on The Price is Right also.
Oh, fine.
Leah
I
was
should
the
watch it.
Game show.
yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's fun. You should have fun in life, and it's
I agree. But I don't think I watch any game shows.
oh no.
Yeah.
This is that aging ourselves thing again. Like that's what right early 80s was like this supreme game show o'clock.
Yeah.
And $1,000 pyramid, you
Oh
know.
yeah. I mean, that's still around. They're still around. I mean, there's an episode of Friends where Joey's on
Yeah.
$1 Million Pyramid and with
But it's up
That's
to
a million at that point.
oh,
right?
was it million? Wow.
Yeah. We remember, 10,000.
Old school is $10,000.
Like,
Yeah. I remember Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, and they had that like the faux Who Wants to Be a Millionaire at Disney World.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, so this is it's apropos to the podcast and singing, but
That's
the
fine.
reason I got on the
Price is
on
Right.
The Price is Right. We went for my sister's. It was Bob Barker's last. My sister lived in LA, and it was Bob Barker's last
Like
Mhm.
month.
time.
Yeah.
And on the show. And so we just organized a trip for her bachelorette party, and it was like this epic day of, you know, get up and stand in line at 3 a.m. and all of this shenanigans. So we're there, and Dimitri's, the guys were all like, what do you mean you're going on The Price is Right without us? So it just turned into this huge party of like 20 of us or something, where we got divided into two groups, and I was at the end of one and Dimitri was at the beginning of the other. We're all standing together, but whatever. So the producers come down the line and they're like, you know, what's your name? Where are you from? What do you do? And so I said, I'm Leah, I'm from New York, and I'm an opera singer. And he was like, yeah, whatever, sing a high C. And so, you know, we're all delirious at 9 o'clock in the morning and sing a high note. And it was loud and long and fun and doing the whole performer thing. And the entire corral of people just like
all
wild
of Burbank just erupted in
Yeah.
applause.
It
It
was
was
so
amazing.
fun.
Yeah.
And so Dimitri's behind me. And of course, at this time, he's much, much more famous than me. And so the producer says, what's your name? Where are you from? What do you do? And he said, I'm Dimitri. I'm from New York and I'm an opera singer. And the producer goes, yeah, right, man. And goes and just moved right on it. It was so good. And then I was the first person they called to come to the front. It was so fun.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Did
but
you
it was-
end up like spinning the wheel or anything? Or were you just like,
No, I was on contestants row the entire time. I did win luggage. And I
Oh.
got to say $1, Bob. I mean, I had some epic moments that
Leah was berated by Bob Barker on national television.
that's true.
I hope
He-
you have
He said of her
We
in
do.
front of
There's
everybody.
lots
Oh,
of
there's
video.
video. He said, because you know, she didn't hear what the person next to her said, what her bid was. So she said, what did you bid? And the woman said, and so Leah bid $1 less than that. $1 more than that.
Yeah.
And Bob says, did you see what just happened there? And he starts making fun of Leah and everything, like right there. And he said to her, he said, if you win, or when you win this, because he was so convinced that she was going to win. He says, when you win this, you will be the least deserving contestant on The Price is Right. Bob Barker said that to Leah.
So I saw 5 minutes that's just completely dedicated to me on this show. But no, I did not get to spin the wheel.
and Bob Barker must have been so happy about that.
I used the luggage, and that was in 2007.
Mhm.
It is exceptional luggage.
Right. Listen, at least you got luggage, you know.
mean,
Some
right?
people don't even get a name tag to be, no, they do, but some people don't even get to be up there to say now $1 Drew. So,
Right?
you know, yeah.
And if it makes you feel any better, they also called me Leah Edwards.
I'm sorry. God, it's okay.
No, I can't tell you how many people do that
No,
instead.
it's like, I mean, you can pronounce my name, but people spell it wrong all the time.
Yeah.
You know, we even joke that like family members don't know how to spell my name, and they've known me for years. So not putting my age out there or anything, which I have in other podcasts. But anyway, after Burbank and The Price is Right and house hunting down in South Carolina.
Right. Well, we didn't really house hunt. We visited.
Just give me this moment.
Yeah.
Dimitri.
We knew we wanted to leave Charleston. New York. We didn't know where we wanted to go.
Yeah.
And we visited Charleston for 36 hours in January.
Hmm.
And we came back a month later and looked at some houses and put an offer in like within a
It's
month. We did that.
So yeah, that's the
crazy.
house hunting moment because they had that on the show. Like they visited this place and now they decided to move there.
Yeah.
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 I took that moment back. It's mine now. House hunting.
It is yours, and you may have it. The
I
whole
appreciate it.
Yeah.
Take a
I
sip
don't know
out of
what
my hot
your
priest mug.
yeah.
Take it from there.
When you grew up, were
Mhm.
you one of these kids that like took your bike and disappeared and didn't come back till the street lamps came on?
No, but like weirdly, I remember like taking my bike and there being like a dead end, and I would like place my bike. I don't know why this memory came up. Maybe because you guys are singers, and I would like on top of a sewer, and I would just like sing, pretending like I was like singing to an audience.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Great.
I love that.
Acoustics.
That acoustics. You probably had a really nice wooden house or wood that was
No,
there giving you sound. You're like, no, this is not.
I sang in the shower. I sang around my apartment. I sang in a cabaret like 2 years ago, and I still have like PTSD from it whenever I think about like the song I sang because I was so nervous. It was my first time singing in front of people in 10 years or like over 10 years. And I was in a green sequin jumpsuit. I looked really good. And I sang a song from South Pacific. And I just remember saying, like, I sound really nervous. I have vibrato. I just said the word green and I'm wearing green. So those are the thoughts that went through my head while I was singing in front of Broadway performers. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
exciting.
No, it's exciting, but I still have like PTSD whenever I think about like me singing. Yeah,
Where'd you get
that
your
moment.
jumpsuit?
I got it from I think Bloomingdale's on sale, but the problem is it would snag.
Yeah, yeah.
Like the jumpsuit is great, but I should have read the reviews before I purchased it. But it's still in my closet. I don't think it'll fit you though, because you're tinier than I am.
A green sequin jumpsuit is totally,
Yeah. That's
totally up my
exactly what she
alley.
wears.
Oh, it's up mine too. But again, it kept snagging. And we were at a bar after, and I literally was like attached like this to like my knee and my arm. Sorry, my sweatpants that I'm wearing, it's business up on top, but sweatpants on the bottom.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. And then I hosted another cabaret, but I was like, you know what, guys, I'm not gonna sing. Enjoy other people because I'm still traumatized from it.
Are you so wait, what traumatizes you? I love this part.
No, I don't know. I think because I just didn't sound, it's always that thing in your head where you're like, I'm so great at doing this and I'm so great at that and blah, blah, blah. And then when you actually do it, you're like, oh, I'm not as good as I thought. I think it was mostly just like, I didn't like how I sounded.
Mm,
And I think just like the bringing back of like the, oh my God, I sound like I didn't like how I sounded, blah. And to other people, I had like I shared the video with my family, I shared it on my social media, and I had so many people telling me how great I sounded and that's great for them that they thought that. But for me, and I'm sure you guys have this, other performers have this, because I've spoken to a lot of performers about them feeling like they have imposter syndrome or they feel like they didn't perform as well. So for me, I was like, oh, I did not like how that sounded. And I was not comfortable doing that in that moment. But also, it's not something I regularly do.
yeah.
Mhm.
And so I feel like maybe if it was, I do get, nerves before going up on it. I mean, when do I ever go up on a stage? But, there's always that like little bit of performance anxiety, especially for me, because I haven't really ever done it in many, many moons.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It's just a little bit of what do you call it? It's like scar tissue,
Yeah.
It just
Mhm.
takes a while to build up again.
Yeah, and I think like even when I was in college, we would take theater classes and I didn't like performing in front of the class. I was very self-conscious about it. But if I was in a show, I think, you have the nerves before the show starts, but once you're in it, you're fine and you've rehearsed it and all that stuff. So, yeah, that's just my journey.
Oh, that's cool. I love listening to other people's journeys.
Yeah, you should listen to my podcast. It's about everyone's journey.
I I'm
And
getting I'm
your
completely
journey is going to be released soon as well.
yeah.
So, excuse me, I'm so verklempt about this conversation. So, now that we've like house hunted, we decided on South Carolina. We have our guitar and Tony Bennett on the wall and the piano in the background. How did Halo City Arts and Lyric Opera start?
We came here to hide. We stand by that very firmly. We came here to not do what we do. There is not a huge professional performing arts scene in Charleston. And so we felt like we could come here and just like be neighbors and, PTA and have the tiny people and have like mom friends where we have coffees and walk the beautiful bridges here and
Mhm.
like live, that Southern life.
Yeah.
You have
That is
sweet tea
relaxed.
currently in your refrigerator?
I don't.
Okay.
I might get fired from South Carolina by saying that, but I don't love sweet tea. Yeah.
Well, it's
I
also February.
Mojitos
so-
I'm okay with. I'm
I'm a New
You
Yorker.
would-
You think I know what time of year people have sweet tea? I just know that's a stereotypical Southern thing. Although I will say, I do have a friend from college, and when we were like freshmen in college, she's from like Ohio, and she would make sweet tea. And she's like, it's a Midwest thing. I'm like, okay, great. Like,
yeah. No,
Yeah.
it's yeah, that's funny. No, sweet tea's definitely we're sun tea people,
Yeah.
which is magic in the, the warmth
Sweltering heat
of August.
of August.
I didn't
you just
tell
put your
Dimitri.
tea in the sun, and that's how it becomes sun tea.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
put
Oh, really?
like, tea
Yeah.
bags in cold water, and you just leave it on your front porch or your
In the
back
sun.
deck in the sun,
And then it's
and you go
just
back a couple of
sun
hours
tea.
later, and you've got brewed tea from the sun. It's
I
amazing.
remember when I was in London like 7 years ago, to age myself again, um, I I don't do well in heat, and I also have sensitive skin. So my body broke out in this like really gross heat rash. And so my friend and I ended up finding this like organic like pharmacy place in London. And they gave me like these sunbeam things to like help with my rash. And they're like, yeah, like it sits out in the sun. I'm like, great. So it's like these supplements that like sit out in the sun, and
Yeah.
then like they bottle it and give it to you to help with
Right.
the rash.
Yeah.
Sunshine.
Yeah.
Bottled up sunshine.
But listen, it's nature's vitamin C,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
sun's finally out in New York. It was sunny for allegedly 11 days, and then the sun came out. So
No, that's
Yeah.
the real reason. Sunshine and palm trees is the real reason we ended up down here.
Yep.
It was I had always been deeply career driven. He wanted to have kids. That's sort of my department, if that's how things were going to go. And I didn't want to have them. I don't love a stroller on the subway. Like it's not a thing that I'm thrilled with. And so I said, let's fine. We can make all these moves, but I need to not be in cramped spaces anymore.
Yeah.
So we moved here and we were living our very best life
Yeah.
for years.
Mowing my lawn in a wife beater.
Oh my God.
Oh,
Tank
sorry,
tops.
tank top. Yeah, athletic shirt, I should say. Yeah.
Um
Speaking of carousel,
Don't tell me you were, if I can like, were you at like, cause I feel like I can envision in my head, were you in like cargo shorts and like sandals?
no, I never wore cargo shorts. I will tell you, I never wore cargo shorts
Or pants?
or pants of any kind.
Okay. I'm not saying like no
Oh,
real.
cargo pants? No, definitely not cargo pants.
Okay. I'm just like envisioning what it looks like you like mowing a lawn. And
Yeah,
that's
no,
what came to my head. I'm sorry.
yeah, no, it's fine. And no, I, definitely, I wear work boots.
Mhm.
And I
they're
also,
called snake boots down here.
yeah, they're snake boots here.
That makes
And I will
sense.
also say, like, there are very few times now when I mow the lawn anymore because
No, that's my
it's Leia's job.
that's my
That's
half
her,
job.
yeah, that's her.
Is that
Space.
your happy place?
Yes.
Like mowing a lawn? Listen, Dimitri, what's your happy place? What household chore do you do that brings you joy?
I mean, I enjoy cooking, I
Yeah.
suppose. I really have I like making meals. And
It looks to change an electrical outlet.
I do love changing electrical
That's
outlets.
a thing.
Yeah. Switches, plugs, you name it. I can do that all day.
I
I
live
was
in a
visiting my
building.
sister a couple of weeks ago on Long Island, and I did that. Because she's going through, updates in her house, and I visited her for 3 hours, and I spent 90 minutes of that time
Dimmer switch, man.
putting
Dimmer
in
switch.
switches. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
just like have people who work in my building. I'm like, hey, I need this light bulb change. Thanks.
Mhm.
Or I can't get that. I have overhead lighting over here. I couldn't get a light bulb out. So I had to like call somebody to change
Oh,
it for me.
maintenance.
And I was so pissed about that because these light bulbs I can change, but
Right.
the ones in my bathroom are like behind a glass. So I have to have like the maintenance people do it. But like this is a fucking regular light bulb. I can do that myself. I had to fucking call somebody to change it because I couldn't get the light bulb out.
Oh
And it took
man.
them a moment too. So I didn't feel as bad calling them up. I'm like, I have the light bulb, I just can't change it. Anyway.
Yeah.
So we like mowing lawn, we like changing electrical stuff. I feel like this is a very long journey to get to where we need to talk about Holy City Park.
Right.
We're just having such a good time just talking about
I know.
things.
Someone found us out is the real answer. Someone found us out and who we are and what we do. And it's mostly because we would leave for long stretches
Mhm.
and our neighbors in that very neighborly Southern way would watch our house during hurricane season, everybody checks.
Feed our koi in our pond in the backyard and things
Oh,
like
how
that.
fancy are you guys? Have koi?
Yeah, we're
It came with the house, I will say that.
We have 13.
We don't have 13
We don't have
anymore.
13 anymore.
Less than 13.
Because the blue herons come and eat, they snack on the fish. So, low country problems, but no, it just people kept.
What a hard problem to have. I have a light bulb I can't get out of my light socket. And you're like, oh, we have a koi pond in our backyard.
Every couple of weeks I have to clean algae out of a filter. Yeah, that's my problem. Yeah.
Oh, see, I can hear the love of that chore just radiating in your mouth right now. You should write
Love algae.
You should write an operatic song about how much you love cleaning the algae filter.
The filter.
It would probably
And that could be a part of your love celebration concert next week about all the things I love doing around the house. It used to be mowing the lawn.
Yeah.
And now it's cleaning the algae filter.
Algae time. Yeah.
And you can start off by saying, I had an umbilical cord wrapped around my neck.
I can handle this algae.
And then the hospital closed as soon as I was born.
Yep.
Because they're like, no more babies.
We don't want to even face the lawsuit that's coming.
Or just like, Dimitri is fine. We can close down now. No other children need to be born after this miracle baby.
Meanwhile, down in Fairfax, DC, we've got fireworks going off during another birth. It's just like,
yeah, there you go. And maybe you should sing Katy Perry's Firework as like an operatic number. Be like, this is how I was born. Baby, you're a firework.
Yeah. You are full of good ideas today. I'm maybe all the time, but I'm thrilled with our ideas.
I don't mean to sound this way, but I kind of am.
Kind of have great ideas.
We should on for our artistic consultants.
Oh no, listen, I want to direct very badly, and I have been very vocal about it on my podcast, and people know. Shape of Things by Neela Butte. If anybody's listening, holler. Yeah.
That's good. That's good.
So if you guys ever need like an artistic director person, let me know. I'm around.
Great.
Amazing.
My schedule is now wide open as of last week, if that gives anything away about what happened.
Oh,
yeah, it's not great, but let's not talk about it because
all right.
So you were found out.
So we got found out. We did a concert with the symphony here. And because we don't do anything small, it was they wanted to do a whole concert of opera and musical theater. Just like the two of us singing loudly with a gown change in the middle, because why not? And so the School of the Arts chorus, the arts education in this town is phenomenal, from like preschool through high school. It's like award-winning kids that go off and, then end up, because there's not an opportunity for them to then do that thing that they've trained for the last 15 years to do. And so we did this concert, and it was the highest grossing concert of the season. And everybody went insane and was like, we want this. Your brand of opera. That's what we want. And we're like, nope, no, thank you so much. A, I don't know what brand of opera that is, and B, no. Because we were having a really nice time. We were singing and having our careers, and then we would come home and actually have time to like sit on our back deck and have coffee and watch the koi and breathe. And but what happened, this is the actual crux of your question. What happened at that concert is that all of our neighbors, we live in this very sweet, we're a closed street with 2 cul-de-sacs. And so our 25 houses are very, we might have a bar cart in one of those cul-de-sacs occasionally. And just very community oriented. Everybody's watching out for everybody. The kids are all buddies. The adults just all like to have a good time. And so we were like, we're doing a concert, come, it's at the theater downtown. And it was just like, the way we presented it was very casual. And they were like, yeah, you guys say you're singers, you skip out of town all the time, and sure, let's come see what it's all about. And we looked down when we got out on the stage for the first time, and like our entire neighborhood had bought the front orchestra section of the theater. And Dimitri and I were like, well, I mean, just totally gobsmacked in that moment. Some of these people had never been to live classical art ever in their lives. Some people were born in this town and had never been to that theater ever. There was a woman who came to us when we first moved in, and in the way she introduced herself was, now someone said y'all sing opera. That's like a play, but where you sing the whole time, in a legitimately sincere, I don't know what you do, that made me so warm and fuzzy. Like, I mean, she was curious. And it was just the best moment of looking down, and the support was not because we are famous or whatever, which we're not here. It just was legitimately like people coming to see their neighbors, like you would go to the bar if somebody were playing a set there. And they came, and we looked down, and people after that, our neighbors kept coming over, and they were like, I've never heard the word opera in a way. No one's ever introduced it to me. And now I've just always known it was bad, or known I shouldn't, it wasn't for me, or known it wasn't right. Like this thing.
I think, there's that stigma about opera too, about how it's
only for smart people, or it's
only
like,
it's only for like
people.
a certain type. I think, that because that's what it was back in the day, because, it wasn't as accessible, I think, as it is now. And I only speak about the Metropolitan Opera in New York because that's really the only opera I know. But I think what they're trying to do is broaden the different type of operas that they're doing. And, they have like the 35 under something, they have different opera packages. I have a friend who bought like a bunch of stuff for the season, and she's like a year or so older than I am. So again, not to age ourselves, we're 21 plus, but
right, 21 plus.
Oh, I just turned 21. No, that's the thing, is that it in America, again, because America likes to do this, make it exclusive in some way. In Europe, Dimitri was singing in Berlin, and we went to the Komische Oper to see Magic Flute, and there was not a person in that theater from 2 to 92. It erupted. The opening number, Tamino's aria, the entire theater was singing every word, every note. It was like, that's what you do, is you sing the opening to Magic Flute. And I just talk about ugly crying. I was just sitting, and I was like, this is what I want art to be.
Community.
Right? It builds community. And it became a tool in the 50s, 40s, 50s, 60s, where it was like the rise of the diva, and it became like the icon, as opposed to anything having to do with the art form. And it just, in a very short period of time, went from being a people's art form, which it is, and true, a bunch of rich guys sitting around or who created it, right? But they still made it for the people. And like Verdi wrote for the people. He wrote blue collar stories about a Mozart, like Marriage of Figaro. It's about class distinction. It is so, it accesses the essence of humanity, good, bad, ugly, like all of the same biblical style things that are talked about, right? Don't do this, do this, lust, greed, sex, murder, like it's all of it. And it's so awesome and really loud. And to sing it as a performer, you have to access all of these things, which sends your energy out to the audience, and audience members either feel it wash over them and like, oh yes, I get this. Or, I fell in love with this art form when I was 7 because I'm a giant dork. But I saw Carmen. My first opera was Carmen. And like, there is no better first opera as far as I can tell. But it's got a bad rap. Opera's got a bad rap, and we have to do something to fix it. And just like making it look sparklier is not gonna, we have to invite what is exciting.
Mm-hmm.
We have to access that in other people and figure out what's exciting. And so in order to do that, you have to actually talk to your audience, literally speak to them, say, here's what we're singing about. Did this affect you? Or don't tell them at all what you're singing about and see if this affected you. That's also, we gave a concert in our driveway, and this woman weeping, like just weeping. We sang the end of Act 1 of Madame Butterfly, which also, for clarity, ugly cry.
Anyway, yeah.
But she was crying, and she came over. She was like, I don't mean to be offensive. Is it offensive that I'm crying? And we're like, no, you're feeling everything that we just put on you.
Yeah.
Yes, what you're feeling is valid. It is accurate. It is real. It was so in the moment and so full of, she just like let go and absorbed what it is that, because everything was weird, right? Like, we're singing opera. We're her neighbors. Our kids are like, we had a 3-month-old at this time. So he's like in his carrier. Our 3-year-old was running around like being a 3-year-old. And it was
point of reference. We're talking about the beginning of the pandemic.
Yeah.
It wasn't yesterday. Okay.
It wasn't, but maybe. But it just like everything was uncertain.
Mm-hmm.
And this was the thing that just for a minute fixed it all.
Yeah.
And that's what started Halo, and that's what has fueled Halo is. And that's what when people said that, well, we want your brand of opera, it's that moment of energy, of letting go, of accepting something you don't know, of releasing yourself, of being scared, of learning something new, which it's still a shared thing. Nobody wants to walk into something they don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's what makes traveling scary or exhilarating. It's about the way it's presented to you, or it's about the way that you can view it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I think there's an apprehension with, like you said, right? You're afraid you don't want to go to Bohème because you don't want to fall asleep. But like,
I'm going to see it eventually, but I'm not like, it's not preventing me, like, oh, I might fall asleep, but like, that's not going to prevent me from going to La Bohème. Money is going to prevent me from going to see La Bohème, but it'll be here at the end of the, like they do like every season. It's not going anywhere. I will see La Bohème eventually. I'm not that worried about it. But no, the thought of falling asleep will not prevent me from seeing an opera. Like singing in front of an audience again and having like PTSD, that's a different story. Yeah. But no, I understand like the apprehension about what you were saying, but going back to your mission statement of what Halo is, I think that also just proves how art can affect someone, the different types of art that can affect someone. And that's what's just so powerful about all different types of art form and how it affects someone, and it affects everybody differently. Um, I cry at carousel, somebody might not, so it's subjective, but in a good way.
It's personal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's scary, I think, in a world where we're not, we're happy to sort of outwardly not maybe look inside,
Yeah.
and art makes you do that, which can be scary.
Yeah. I will say I did come up with another brilliant idea for Halo.
Great.
Oh, good.
You're going to do at some point a 7 Deadly Sins concert,
Yep.
because you mentioned how opera talks about the different greed and this and that. So you're welcome.
Love that.
I love that.
Thanks. I don't know if you're just saying that, but
No. We there's always, it's always nice to be able to, kind of like what Leah was just saying, like bring what you know into it, right? So like people at least know what the seven deadly sins are. They can relate to them in some way.
yeah.
So then, our job is to be able to personify, operify that for them, right? So that we're taking away one of those levels of insecurities about it. You already know about it, about this. Here's our take on it, right?
Yeah. And it also introduces people to the different types of operas, because you can be like, oh, here's Lust from La Boheme. Here's, I don't know, like Desire from Carmen. So I only know those operas. Like I don't get super fancy with the other ones in Italian that you mentioned that I have no idea what they are. So,
But those are right. So killing it. And
mic
I mean,
drop.
Carmen's
I
the
have a mic right
utmost.
here. Drop it. There you
Okay.
go. So let's talk a little bit about, so that's the formation of it. What do you guys do with Halo? I mean, I mentioned it a little bit. So, I mean, it is Holy City. Oh my God, why can't I say things? Holy City Arts and Lyric Opera / Halo. So do you guys just go by Halo? Is it Holy City Arts and Lyric Opera? Like, what's the proper name? Is there 2 names? Is it like how I already messed up your name? I was calling you the wrong name since the beginning, Leah. So what is it?
Well, Halo is definitely a lot easier to say and remember.
Clearly, as I was fumbling over saying Holy City Arts and Lyric Opera.
It's funny, like, and we don't blame you at all. But the fact is that if you live in Charleston, you know that Charleston is the holy city. So Holy City Arts rolls off of the tongue very easily here for this community.
Yeah.
But outside, it might be a little bit more difficult because, like, literally thousands of companies, let's say, have Holy City in it. Holy City Plumbing, Holy City Electric,
Popcorn.
Holy City Popcorn. I mean, it's just like that is what it is, right? So
we're Holy City Arts.
We're Holy City Arts, yeah.
I will say when I got the email, I'm like, is this a religious thing? So that's why I had to like Google it.
Right.
To be like, I mean, as lovely as it is, I don't want to have a religious thing on my podcast. I'm like, oh, it's not. We're great. We're good.
Charleston is religious in that we are accepting of all religious. That's why it gets its name, the Holy
Listen,
City.
again, you guys welcome diversity and inclusion, like we mentioned. So, yes, anyway, so we were talking about the name, and as I mentioned, also you guys do performances in different spaces throughout South Carolina. Do you want to talk about that and like some productions that you have done that you guys are really excited about that you put on? Like some top performances that come to mind?
Yeah, well, we've done four large scale productions now, and each one of them is completely different. Our inaugural production, like Leah was talking about earlier, was La Traviata, and we set that behind third base at the minor league ballpark here, and we used the jumbotron, for example, to have the subtitles so that people knew what was going on the entire time. And it was we set it in 1986 on the evening of Game 6 of the World Series between the Mets and the Red Sox. And so right away people could connect, right?
You actually walked into the ballpark and we had the actual 1986 MTV music videos up on the Jumbotron, filled the stadium with 1986. And so you walked in and everybody was like just immediately transported to 1986. It was my very favorite moment.
Yeah.
Anyway, go ahead.
Violetta, no, it's fine. Violetta at the end of Act 1, after she sings her huge aria, takes a Walkman and puts on her foam headphones and hits play, and Whitney Houston starts playing, for the scene change and everything like that. So it's
How could I know? She's
right.
And right. So
which is exactly what she was singing in the aria. Yeah.
Except, and so we had the words up, right, for Sempre Libera, which is like basically the same thing that How Could I Know is. And so juxtaposing them, and you could just like watch people, light bulbs go off. It was so fun. But I even like the Verity situation of he wanted to always set it in the time that you lived in. And so we don't do that a lot. Again, in productions are like stuck in the 1880s or whatever, but it's not really made modern. And so we wanted to do it in 1986, but also because, relevancy, TB, not a lot of people focusing on TB, but
tuberculosis.
Sorry. Yes.
No, so I said it because it might sound like TV over it. I wasn't correcting you.
Tuberculosis.
Oh, I thought you said TV.
Yeah.
Oh no, tuberculosis. And so we said it in 1986, of course, different AIDS crisis, right? But same sort of social outcasting. And so, and also for the viewing party, the 1986 Game 6 viewing party, Violetta and Alfredo, when it was written, Violetta's a courtesan and Alfredo is a society kid. And of course, so that's in conflict. We had to create a different conflict for them. And so, of course, they were the only two Red Sox fans at this big Mets party, which, of course, when you bring it out onto the stage, everyone's like, oh, I get it. They're bonding over something. It's like, great. Our job here is done. You understand scene 1. Next. Right. It was really fun. Anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
It's fine. We tell these stories together. No, okay. Please interrupt me. I insist. So that was Traviata in a nutshell. Like fireworks out because we're outdoors, right?
We had a 90
October. Yeah.
Did it bring you back to when you were born? No, I'm sorry.
Exactly.
I was born for this. I was born ready to shoot fireworks off in my very first show that I ever produced.
Well, this organization is born of us, right? And our careers and our lives and the way that we view art. So naturally, we're going to bring ourselves into it whenever.
Oh my God. Is your next production going to have somebody come out with an umbilical cord around their neck?
I'm thinking about it.
Absolutely not.
No, but our next concert is on my birthday. So.
I thought you were born on Valentine's Day?
I was, yeah.
Well, so was my cousin. Look at that. You guys, I think you also just like
Renee Fleming, who you were talking
holidays.
about.
What?
You guys just born on holidays.
Yeah.
I mean,
look at you.
I know how to put on a show for sure.
Yeah.
So our next show was Sondheim's Into the Woods. And we set that on this 1901 gun battery on Sullivan's Island, which is a barrier island off of Charleston. And it's basically this big concrete slab where this huge 10-foot gun used to sit. And they built it for the Spanish-American War, which actually never was really a war, but they built it to protect the coastline. And it had been taken over in the century plus by nature, by woods and that grew around it, and where it was once flat and just out in the middle of the sand, suddenly is now wooded and protected. And so we thought we would take into the woods in a sense. And that was interesting. We had stadium seating. We built everything basically, except aside from the concrete slab. But we had to, we even had to bring in bathrooms because that stuff didn't exist there. And we built a
Water.
250 seat stadium seating for the audience for that too. So that was a great experience. Our first experience with Sondheim as well, and we grew to have, we already had such a huge appreciation for it and for him and for
Producing
what for
something.
produce.
It was
Yeah,
our
but
first producing son.
that was something else to
Yeah.
make that happen. Yeah.
But we got the full band. It was so cool.
Yeah.
And then the
Oh.
band was in the woods and all the people were in the woods, and it was
It's
very
really like an immersive they were journeying into the woods to see into the woods.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was really
So
good.
as founders and as general director, I'm trying to look at your titles, artistic director, general director. How do you guys decide what productions to put on, where to put them on? How do you find who you want to direct the show? How do you find your cast? How does that all come about?
Yeah. I mean, you can talk more about this, but I think it's a combination of magic and just completely organic,
Mhm.
things. And it's been different for every show. For Into the Woods, for example, we wanted to do Into the Woods. We knew we wanted to do it and we didn't know where. But we knew we were going to continue outdoors. And then we found the battery. For the latest production that we did, which was Verdi's Rigoletto, we had looked at a space, which is basically a big black box.
Mhm.
But its previous life was the gymnasium of the elementary school that's right next to it. And so we brought the building back to its roots, and we set an 18 something opera
Mhm.
on a basketball court.
Oh, wow.
And it was fantastic. And the story just, because it's Verdi and you can do that with him. You can just plop it up and drop it almost into any place, and it'll work amazingly. And it was really great.
for casting and designers and all of the, the luxury that we have is, 40 years of combined combined
Yeah, we're
careers.
not aging ourselves on the podcast. We're all 21 plus.
No, yeah, just right context. But that's, we have friends and colleagues and people who are like, wait, you're making a thing. And the luxury of starting it during the pandemic is that no one was working. And so for Traviata especially, we called our team that we know loves to make art, and we're like, hey, do you want to do a thing? And it was like, yeah, let's do a thing. And that, so everybody, our director ended up calling, his set designer ended up calling, we just sort of pieced this together. And then people that in our heads should be these parts, we were like, let's make phone calls. Why not? What are they going to say?
Doing?
No.
Yeah.
And so it's been such a magical, always with the clear purpose of giving people opportunities who, role opportunities that they want to debut, making sure that we have underrepresented voices on the stage at all times, making sure that, it's a combination. It really is a family when people come. And again, that was really cemented during COVID, when we podded everybody. We put people in, first world problems. We put our entire Traviata cast in an 8-bedroom beach house, right on white sand beaches and a pool side. And I just it was so fun. But then no one was mad that they were all living together, which is not a thing that opera singers are used to, right? We're much more reclusive, I think, as humans than theater people are. And so, but that became a thing. And then they ended up all driving to rehearsal, and our conductor actually drove the van of people to and from the shows.
A 15-person van.
So it became, it's really, it's the vibe of being here is one of family, and is one of, taking your art incredibly seriously, and then maybe not taking life so seriously.
Yeah.
Like on the stage, do your job, do it 1,000,000,000%, but then maybe afterwards, like, have a beer and don't maybe wear your scarf in 80 degrees. Like, let's, not those people.
Yeah.
Nothing's wrong with those people, but we prefer to hire people who play hard and work hard. And so we've had the great pleasure of meeting a lot of those people throughout our careers. And so we've called and said, hey, do you want to do this? And people were like, yeah, whatever. Yep. Let's game on. And we've been able to, like, our whole Rigoletto cast, everyone in the cast did those roles, made their role debuts, including our conductor. This was his first Verdi opera that he has ever gotten to conduct. And so there's pride in that too, that, people have wanted to do these things and haven't had the opportunity in the bigger houses or in other regional houses that aren't doing progressive productions that people, how many people does anyone know that our Rigoletto was the mascot for the basketball team? There are very few.
I'm just nodding like I know what Rigoletto is. I don't, but I'm just going with it.
It's a Verdi
sorry to like,
opera.
No, it's fine.
yes, it's great.
It's absolutely. There are not a lot of Verdi baritones. It is a huge role, very demanding. And there just aren't a lot of people that I know that would put on a mascot costume and make their first entrance dancing. We started it with Pump Up the Jam. It was amazing.
As one should. That sounds amazing.
Right? Who doesn't want to start an opera with Pump Up the Jam?
Yeah.
And he did the Roger Rabbit in a costume
You guys just like, you guys are like bringing like 80s and 90s back to like the youth of South Carolina.
All the stories are the same, right? The stories are the same. This is, I wouldn't ever deign compare ourselves to Bernstein, but like, it's the Romeo and Juliet versus West Side Story. And everyone's like, oh, it's West Side Story. It's like, yes, it is. It's just now in a world that you understand.
Yeah.
And there's so much.
Sorry, that just reminded me of like a thing that happened in high school. We learned about Romeo and Juliet, and my English teacher was also a special education teacher transitioning into just doing English. And so he would also show us movies. So he showed us the Baz Luhrmann Romeo and Juliet, which we obviously saw. And at the end where she wakes up while he's dying, he's like, if Shakespeare was around when they were doing things, you know that he would have had Juliet wake up while Romeo is dying. Sorry.
Right?
Anyway.
No, it is. It's, yep. It's that. It's our job as creators. Instead of having our audience grovel at our feet and tell us how amazing we are, it is our job to serve them, to keep saying, these are your stories. Let us grovel to you and tell your stories. It just, the flip-flop has been so cool to experience. That's what really happened when we incorporated in the fall of 2019, and then the world shut down. And so it was like, but what? And then we were singing in our house. We need to get new windows. They still are terrible. Like, they're not sealed well. It's not good.
How many windows have you broken from opera singing?
No.
Hold on, let me get my phone. Put them.
Yeah.
But our neighbors were just out for a walk, and they stopped in front of the house, and they heard us singing, and they looked, and this was again April of 2020, and they're staring at the house like wide-eyed, tears, ugly crying. And I didn't know if the house was on fire, we just didn't know what was happening. And we go outside on the front porch, and they were like, absolutely nothing makes any sense, but we just walked past your house, and it was like, everything's gonna be okay. And it's that. And so then that next week we did a concert on our driveway, and then like it got picked up as a good news story. And then all of a sudden we had an organization.
Nice. So you talked about how you get the casting and the artists and all that stuff, but how do you decide what productions to do? You spoke about doing a Sondheim piece, you did Into the Woods, and you do operas. Are you looking to do more regular musical theater pieces? Are you kind of leaning just doing more operas, like Once in a Blue do a regular musical theater piece? Like what's going on there?
Yeah, we schedule fall and then musical theater in the spring. And because, well, I don't know how long this podcast is, but I will shorten this as much as
No,
possible.
you can. I mean, the longest one was over 3 hours, so I think we're doing okay with time.
Yeah, we probably won't hit that mark. At least I don't think. I'll talk fast.
You say that now,
I
but
know,
3 hours from now, you'll be like, "Oh, we're still talking," as I'm like half asleep because it's past midnight. But no, it's fine.
All right, 1735. The
Mhm.
Charleston Peninsula on the corner of Church and Broad Street. The first opera that was ever performed on these shores was here in downtown Charleston.
Oh, wow.
Despite what Lester Holt may have.
He didn't. I watched
He
the
didn't?
story.
Oh, okay,
No,
good. Never mind. I hadn't watched it yet. Great.
Oh,
There was
wow.
some-
The anger
Yeah, no, there was
is
some.
about to come out.
New Orleans likes to say that they're the birthplace of opera in North America, and they just are not. Sorry, New Orleans, you have a lot of amazing qualities.
Yeah.
Opera you don't get to claim. It came to Charleston via London, 1735. It came here first. It just did.
It was a ballad opera called Flora, and it took place in this place called She Said Tavern on the second floor, which was basically a long room. And during the daytime, they used it for government proceedings and things like that. And then at night, they'd kind of clear everything and they turn it into a theater, and this was performed there. And then the following year, that production was mounted in the Dock Street Theater, which was one of the first edifices in the country, this young country, that was built for the purposes of entertainment. And so that happened in 1735. Now, if you consider like where America is now compared to where it was in 1735 from a musical perspective, you can trace the lineage of modern Broadway, modern musical theater to, that moment right there. That's when it hit the shores. It went and continued its way however it wanted to. The opera world continued its way in the European traditions of it. But then the American traditions of opera grew, and we explored, inviting our own music into it, and it eventually became musical theater. And so because of that, we honor both of those traditions. So we put on an opera in the fall, and we put on a musical theater in the spring. Now, we do have some little caveats to the musical theater that we perform. We generally will choose repertoire between the 1920s and 1960s. But we also include Bernstein and Sondheim in that because it's Bernstein and Sondheim.
You don't have to, but you can.
Yeah. So
I mean, it's the genius part.
Yeah. I know. I like a Rodgers and Hammerstein. I know, controversial, but that's what I grew up with. But
yeah.
But that's us too. I mean, that's basically, and again, this has to do with knowing our community and getting to know our community through these truck concerts. We did over 120 concerts. We did 100 concerts between April 16th of 2020 and November 5th was our 100th concert of 2020.
We should tell them what a truck concert is.
A truck concert.
Did you put it on a truck?
We do.
Yeah.
We have a piano in the back of our pickup truck.
Yeah.
And you say truck concert, I think I got the concept of it.
Okay.
Good.
Okay.
Great,
fine.
Good.
Truck concert, you're on a truck, you do a concert.
Right.
It's pretty great.
Yeah.
You have a piano.
Any place you could get a pickup truck, we put on a concert.
Do you just like travel around the streets like what's Vanessa Carlton in her music video?
Yeah. We could have. We do. It is self-powered, right? Like we have an upright Yamaha piano on there, and it's there's an inverter, so we could travel, but it's generally a little unsafe for the pianist to be
sure.
with that up there. So we tend to park it in one spot.
Got it.
But yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. No, but
in those truck concerts that we gave, those 100 and something concerts, it was an opportunity for us to engage with our community. And, we really learned that a nonprofit should exist for the community,
Mhm.
in which it serves. And so
What they wanted to see was classic opera, classic musical theater.
Mhm.
And we've pushed that a little bit. I mean, we're all about pushing a boundary, but
Mhm.
like if we can do Traviata,
Mhm.
we removed the chorus, the ensemble. We just had a 10-person cast. And we're really excited to be doing 90-minute productions.
yeah.
We tried that with Rigoletto and it failed miserably because we just wanted to do the whole thing. So we were like 90 minutes. All of our first marketing was like 90 minutes, no intermission. And then by the time we did the show, it was like just kidding. There's an intermission.
15-minute intermission.
And it's about 2.5 hours, but it's fine.
JK, you guys,
But
There's too much good music in it to
Yeah.
cut, is what it was. It was too
have you
beautiful.
guys performed in any of these pieces that you've put on thus far with Halo? I mean, aside from the concerts, but any of the big productions have you performed in?
Well,
Will you want to
no, we
perform?
sang this most recent one, Rigoletto, we actually, because it was kind of sports, again, like the basketball
Mhm.
setting and theme to it, Leah and I actually sang the national anthem together, like
nice.
just to open the show.
Mhm.
But
a cameo here and there.
yeah.
I'm waiting for you guys to do a spring production of Sweeney Todd, where you're Mrs. Lovett and Sweeney.
We are not going to be those roles.
Oh, I'm just saying. That's fine.
Mhm.
But I'm assuming other people will, and you're not announcing when and where.
What?
Wink.
Actually, it's funny you say that. Because talk about dream roles for sure for me. Sweeney, obviously. No.
Obviously.
You can do a gender bend. They did it with Company. You like live your life,
No, I love it. I love
I'm a
Mrs.
Toby
Lovett.
myself.
I love Mrs. Lovett. I think she's you're a Toby. You are a Toby.
I'm a Toby.
When I hear Toby, I think of The Office. I'm sorry. Like, no offense to Toby Henderson.
See, and because of what he looks like, I went West Wing. So
What did you say? I'm so sorry.
I went West Wing.
Oh. I started watching West Wing, and because I was binging it, I was like, it's too much of the same. I just need to I can't watch this anymore.
Oh,
I
God.
haven't returned. And I hear it's a great show, but I'm like, I just can't, all in one. It was just too much for me.
Well, and also not to continue aging ourselves, but some of us were around when that was a weekly episode that we had to wait. There was no binge capability when that
was around at that time too, and I did not watch it when it was on the television. And yeah, and I was a late bloomer into The Office when it was on TV, and that's fine. And I watch it every day that is on television, except for Wednesdays, because they don't show it on Wednesdays on Comedy Central. Yeah, that's right. I know when it's on. Anyway.
That's my Big Bang Theory is
yeah, same.
my
I was
office.
watching that while I was prepping for this interview, and then I had to turn it off because we were about to start.
I watch it in Syndicate and it's amazing.
Yeah, same. It's great.
Of
Now,
course.
yeah. Are we going to do like an opera version of Big Bang Theory now?
Ooh, that would be fun.
Bazinga! There you go. That's your...
Yeah.
No, that was a little West Side Story, Maria, for you.
Yeah.
So you mentioned the singing, you doing concerts of opera and musical theater.
Yeah.
Now, when you're doing both in a concert, what is that like for you vocally? And I say that because I know that, and I don't mean to keep bringing up Kelly O'Hara, but she's like the only example I can give. And when she was doing The King and I on Broadway, they were also about to do a 10th anniversary concert of Light in the Piazza. And she had to take off time from doing The King and I to prep for Light in the Piazza because she said it's vocally a very different performance. And some musical theater pieces are very different than doing opera. So how is that for you guys doing that in a concert vocally?
I mean, depending on the repertoire that's chosen, it can be challenging. When in looking at the scope of an evening, the voice as you put the voice through its acrobatics. It tends to gain agility. And so if you do the opera kind of earlier on, where it feels really structured that way, and then as you kind of get into the later repertoire, where the colors come out a little bit easier, and you can access both the color and the style a little easier, which I think is why you will see most of those concerts done in that kind of chronological order. It just kind of makes sense vocally, but I don't think that I wouldn't necessarily put us in that kind of box. I think, now we're taking our production. I'm taking my producer hat off and putting my artist hat on, right? Like,
yes, because I asked you about singing,
music,
so
right?
I
Yeah.
hope so.
Yeah. So, it is what it is, and at the end of the day, it's yourself and what it is that you're bringing to it. So, I wouldn't, that most of the bodies use the same way when we sing, right? It doesn't matter if we're singing musical theater or if we're singing Broadway, right? But the treatment of the sound, once it kind of goes beyond the vocal cords and what we're doing with it, that's when you really start to notice a lot of the changes, right? So, to get technical for a second, in classical singing, we kind of really think about height in the sound. We think north-south, right? Whereas when we start to go into a bit more of a musical theater sound, we tend to go east-west on it, right? And but nothing really changes in terms of the approach of the voice and what we do with our vocal cords. That doesn't change at all. At least, again, in the 20s to 60s music plus Sondheim and Bernstein, like that stuff kind of fits into the.
But I do think it's really different. Using the skill of using a microphone and the technical approach to singing when you're using a microphone, which obviously Kelly is a queen of a microphone. I think that may be a wildly different technique.
For sure.
And I don't, I'm certainly not going to speak for her in that way, but
your feelings on it.
Acoustically, like Dimitri's saying, acoustically, when you're using your body, it doesn't matter what you're singing. You can be singing, high E's or, belting your face off. And that's the same usage of the instrument.
Yeah. So getting back to more Halo-ish things now. So you also talk about how you have community events, school programs, and historical walking tours. And I want to bring up the school program because, Dimitri, with you talking about like how you use your voice operatically north and south, and then musical theater east and west, that's like a really good piece of teaching knowledge that I never thought about. Let's talk about like other things other than like the productions and stuff. So like the school programs, do you guys teach at these school programs, or how do these events and things like that come about?
Yeah, well, I mean, they're a lot like what our truck concerts would be. It's a couple of songs. We'll do some opera and some musical theater. We talk about the pieces, we introduce them to them, we try and also make sure that they're connecting with it, in a certain way. I mean, ultimately, if you ask the pianist to play like, dun daga 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 dun daga 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 dun daga 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 da, like everybody recognizes that, right? Or so it's just so you connect with them there and you say, look, about opera already, right? And so it's just once you can kind of help them realize that we're all standing in the same boat in the middle of the ocean, then we can all start to work together, and they figure out. I mean, kids are smart. They pick up on everything.
Really eager to learn about the people who are standing and singing really loudly in front of them, right? There's an ease because of the lack of knowledge. Again, just culturally, we don't really teach our kids. Well, collectively, we don't teach our kids. Our kids ask to hear Traviata and Rigoletto my son came home with a journal entry that was like, what did you do this weekend? And most kids are like, I played with a friend next door. And he was like, I went to a production of Rigoletto. It made me feel brilliant. And I was like, I feel really good about this. But no, the school programs, we did a lot in the pandemic. We did a lot of truck concerts, in parking lots of, and then whole schools of kids on their, blankets and stuff. It was really cool. And then we got to we did a family fitness fair.
Mhm.
We were asked, and it was all about how opera is like a sport and how we use our bodies as the same way that athletes do, and approaching kids from that angle and having them understand all of a sudden how hard it was. And Dimitri and I would do stuff like, we have an elliptical and a little underdesk elliptical that we took, and we would run really fast on it. And then we would sing really loudly or recover your breath or whatever it is. And then the little kids they were like, whatever, I can do it. And then they would do it really hard and they like couldn't make a sound. And it was, it's really teaching that appreciation for the art form that is completely separate from music. Was also a really fun thing. And then I went and did career day for a class of 8. It was tools of your trade. And my son is like our best PR agent, but he, no offense to my PR team, but my son was like, my parents are opera singers. And so then the woman who was organizing career day was like, I don't really know if this even applies to you, but can you come in and talk about the tools that you use in your craft? I was like, oh, I got tools. We got scores and highlighters and boas. And anyway, so we came in, and so it was just all the different things that adults, kids, it's like, there's a 300-page score in Italian sitting in front of you. What do you do with this? Because you've been hired to sing a role. Like, now what? And so getting to go through that process and really showing the kids that it's not like you don't just walk into a theater and look, it's magic. There are people on a stage singing and dancing. It's all about the process and what it takes to get there. And like, everybody knows that you go to soccer practice. Well, we don't just sort of like magically, we're not all born with umbilical cords around our necks,
Or fireworks popping.
It's really fun trying to craft our we've done some library programs with adult ed and student education that it's finding all of the different approaches to, it's not just about teaching people about the subject of La Boheme, it's about all the different, really helping them learn that it is a craft, it is a career, it is it takes all of the same work as these other careers that you understand take work.
Yeah.
And so that's been, at least with little kids and elementary school age, before they get infiltrated with the opera's an ugly word, which we've discovered happens somewhere around 6th or 7th grade.
Interesting.
For whatever reason. I mean, like everything, things are cool or not cool around then.
Well, I mean, there are some like Broadway shows that are considered quote unquote like rock operas.
Yeah.
People aren't like,
right.
Oh no, just add the word rock in front of it. It's fine.
Right.
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 But even things, even something like, when we're having conversations with people who don't really know what it is that we do, and we say that we're opera singers, and they say, oh, I love Phantom of the Opera. And I'm like, okay, let's talk about that a little bit, right? Like, it's a through composed piece, right? There are lots of musical themes that are happening. It has all of the genetic makeup of opera with love and death and mysterious, like, so it's just like it's all there. Like, okay, so you know what, you like opera, that's right. You like that opera. You know what? Here's another opera that I'd like to show you. Now, this one is in Italian, but don't worry about it, because you're going to be able to understand everything that's going on, because the entire time there's going to be the words in front of you, whatever it is that we're singing. So you just relax, kind of absorb that, take a few minutes to understand that behavior of understanding through reading and listening to what's happening at the same time. And most of the time people will be like, oh yeah, that, I do like opera. And I just didn't know it. The hardest thing that we hear, or the thing that pains us the most when we hear, is when somebody says that they don't like opera, and we say, well, have you ever been to one? And they say, A, they'll either say, no, I haven't been to one, I just don't like the music, or B, yeah, I went to one and I didn't like it. Right. And our response is always, well, if you read a book that you didn't like, are you going to not read books anymore? If you tasted a food that you didn't like, are you going to not eat food anymore? Like, what is that? What's that behavior? Why are you so quick to just like write off an entire species of music just because because something didn't gel the first time with you? So, there's ways of engaging and trying to get to the crux of what it is that really, like what Leah said, around 6 or 7, why do people suddenly dislike opera for some reason?
And it's so interesting that you said something earlier. You were saying some sort of piece of music that like kids knew, and you're like, see, they knew opera. And if you think about it, I'm not an opera singer. Like that's been around.
That was the Queen of the Night from
Thank you. I was going to say Magic Flute. I was wrong. But yeah, so like that's been around. If you've ever watched Mrs. Doubtfire, in the beginning, he sings Figaro, bonsoir. That's opera. There's like a lot of different operatic, like little snippets throughout like the zeitgeist of the world. So people have been introduced to it, but they're just not aware of what it is.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have a whole, so we're also, Dimitri and I are diehard baseball people, which is.
I mean, you clearly are, because you said, are you Mets fans?
I was.
Oh, okay. But
I
then
was until after 1986, and then they won the World Series, and then they traded all of their good players away. I was like, why am I going to follow this team? So I follow the Yankees. Since 1987, I follow the Yankees.
I was going to say, because you had an opera set on a baseball field, so I would hope you guys are baseball.
We're fans of the sport, right?
Yeah.
We have the most adorable single A stadium here in Charleston, the River Dogs.
Charleston River Dogs.
But so we have a promotional night that is, it's a Halo promotional night. Come learn about us, but during a baseball game. And so all of the in between innings and mid innings, it's all opera themed trivia, games, base running, but we have these videos, and it's what you are just saying. We have 3 different videos that are like, you've seen this, right? It's up when he's, going up the thing, and that's Carmen all the way. And then Bad News Bears. Oh, that's also Carmen.
Yeah.
And the Singing Blue Alien and Fifth Element is Lucia di Lammermoor. And also, the Hulk is listening to Maria Callas sing Casta Diva to calm himself down. Like, it's everywhere.
Well, Angelina Jolie is playing Maria Callas in a movie. Also, to age myself, back in the day when, I don't know why I'm doing a fake smoking thing. I don't smoke. When MTV, like in the early aughts, did like these TV movies, they did a modern day adaptation with Beyonce as Carmen.
Yep.
And they also did like a modern adaptation of Carmen recently at the Met, and they have a movie coming out of Carmen with Paul Mescal, and it's directed by Benjamin Millepied. I'm probably butchering his last name, but yeah, it's a thing
everywhere.
It's everywhere,
and people actually love it. Which is kind of our point, is that it's been the 2nd and 4th highest selling games. And I don't know whether it's like, we just picked this magic day and it just happened to be, but like, we also set the fireworks. We do it on Fireworks Friday. It's a theme. I didn't know it was a theme until I talked to you about this, but I'm addicted to having fireworks in my life. It turns out.
Do you have any items of clothing with fireworks on them?
I don't.
Okay.
I don't. I do love a sparkly thing, but I have no fireworks.
I mean, we're females, diamonds, yes, but sparkles, it's
so we set we have a 6-minute musical reel that is all like that music that pumps you up, like the can, and people don't know that the can is from an opera. Everyone's like, I mean, there's nobody that doesn't go da 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 da. Does anyone know what it's from? No. Does it matter? Absolutely not. But
I need to know, where is that from now? Because I had no idea that was from an opera. See, you learn something new every day.
It's from an Offenbach opera
Okay.
called Orpheus in the Underworld. Is that not what it's from?
I think that's.
I think that's right.
Sounds about it. Yeah, it's not La Petite Show, right? No,
No.
I think it's Orpheus. Yeah. But then also, like, the everybody calls it the Lone Ranger theme, right?
Yeah.
If I said sing the theme to the Lone Ranger, but that's actually in the overture to the opera William Tell by Rossini. Like that's where that came from. So it's like
It's not the Lone Ranger, friends.
it's not. It's Rossini.
But that's okay, right? Like, again, no judgment other than when people say, this has always been really fun for us when people are like, I don't like opera. And it's like, do you like the Lone Ranger? Because I feel like we're going to have a conversation about this right now.
I mean, if you watch an hour of TV, you'll hear an opera in at least twice in every single break of commercials, right? They're always playing opera on commercials.
Commercials.
You're gonna have to do that next time you watch The Big Bang Theory. You're gonna have to like keep the tally of that because you know it better than I do.
You will hear it. You will hear it all the time. In fact, so here's a little fun thing. There's an opera singer, a Welsh opera singer, and over in Wales in the UK, they hired him to sing an ad for a company called Go Compare, where you could compare credit cards and stuff and get the best one at the best rates, whatever. And so he would sing go compare, like that was the thing, right? The man received hate mail from some people because they played the ad so often, and that they didn't know who this person was, and they needed to write him to let him know how much that he had become a part of their lives. And they're just like walking around suddenly singing go compare, go compare. It's like here we would sing I have a structured settlement and I need cash now. Remember that whole thing?
Or Carts for Kids, or in New York.
Oh man. Right. So like
Carmel, dial 6. I have a big issue with Carmel.
I've never used the service.
Oh, they stranded me at MetLife Stadium after a Coldplay concert. I will never use them. I never write things on the interwebs about reviews or anything. I joined Yelp purposely just to write them a scathing review.
Wow.
Oh, no.
Because again, I was by myself seeing Coldplay, even called on my way to the concert to confirm they were picking me up. Middle of the concert, they called me afterwards. I called them. They're like, we have no car for you.
Wow. No, that's not good.
Yeah. Well, luckily, like I was able to get home. But anyway, enough about me.
The point is that all of this stuff is always there. It's just a matter of whether you want to look at it or if you want to pay attention to it or not, right? But it's there. You know it. You know about opera. You just need to like take yourself out of whatever life you're in right now and be like, I'm going to give this a chance, right? Yeah. And so what we do is try and cross that gap. We try and say, this is what we do. Hey, we're going to hang out with you in the back of our pickup truck for a while. We're going to talk to you about it. And then whenever you're ready, you'll come with us. We'll take your hand and we'll take you to one of our concerts where we're doing something on stage or in some crazy field somewhere, or on a gun battery from 1901. And I guarantee you're going to enjoy it.
I feel like this would be a really good transition to talk about your concert, but I do want to actually ask about the historical walking tours that you guys do.
Oh yeah, that's all her department.
I'm a history nerd and I love that type of stuff.
You do?
Oh my, I just like, I nerd out so hard on history. So I just like would love to know about how like historical walking tours are a part of Halo.
Well, it's just, it's literally everything you just said. I'm going to show you my book.
Oh.
And not know here when I moved to this town.
Sorry, I paused because you were breaking up for a moment.
Okay. Am I
Uh,
back?
yeah, hold on. Pause recording. Okay, sorry about that, guys. We had to stop for a moment, but we back. So you have a book you were saying?
Well, no, I can't even find it.
It's okay.
My depths here somewhere, but because I just looked it up for something else. I'm a giant history nerd, and we moved here, and I don't even remember at this point how we found out that this is the birthplace of opera in North America, and I was like, this is what, none of that makes any sense. It's the right. Opera started in New Orleans, right? This is and then I got a bunch of books about Charleston theater history. And I mean, sure enough, it did. And then I just went down the rabbit hole of like from 1735 to now. And and all of how opera has played such a huge role here. Jenny Lind, Swedish Nightingale, came here in 1850 on tour with P.T. Barnum of Barnum and Bailey. But she was the first, is classified as the first global celebrity. And the woman's an opera singer. Like, what? Oh, okay, let's talk more about that, friends. We live in this town where she came and sang on the stage. And there's all of this, like, brought the Christmas tree to Charleston, theoretically, because it was Christmas. She wanted a tree. That was a German thing that she liked. And so then suddenly, because it was popular for anything that she did, right? Lindmania was a thing.
Yeah.
She had a Christmas tree, and suddenly that's why we have Christmas trees in Charleston, because opera. You know what I mean? It's like, you know, the Greek thing of like the root of the word is Greek, right? If kimono, right?
Yeah.
And it's always, but in this town, anywhere you look, it's like if you go back far enough, it is because of this thing that opera sparked. We had this amazing theater. I'm gonna send you the thing. In 1869, first, you know, antebellum Charleston moment. This was their big thing. It's did I close it finally? I was gonna read it to you, but it basically says the city is sighing for opera, and it goes through. I just closed it. It's this ledger in the newspaper that describes the theater in perfect detail, compares it to the stages of New York and London and
Philadelphia.
And it describes every single thing from when you walk in the front door to the prosceniums, to the balconies, to the colors of the everything.
With such pride.
Yeah. And then it just like burned down in 1883, and that was it. That was the end of it. And I'm like, that's the history of opera in Charleston, is like, this amazing thing is happening. Oh, well, it burned down. Well, okay. That's it. We'll see if someone else comes through and does it. And it is just, it's too funny to me from 1735 to now that is exactly the same process that has churned through here.
Yeah.
Porgy and Bess is written in this town, about this town. We have the piano at our museum that George Gershwin wrote Porgy and Bess on. Go see it. It is amazing. There's so much.
Well, they did Porgy and Bess at the Met Opera.
Yeah.
I saw it when it was on Broadway with Audra McDonald and Norm Lewis. So people did see that one. So
yeah,
just saying. I mean, anything with Audra McDonald, really, but
yeah. There's so much here that we almost have 2 tours. It's a 90-minute walking tour. I just nerded out, and then I got it fact checked, and it was right. And then we got a
tours, or do you have? Oh, you have a tour guide.
Yeah. There was a gentleman studying voice with Dimitri, and we were just, you know, talking after, and he was leaving, and it was, oh, where are you going? And he said, I'm going to take my tour guide's license. So I was like, go on.
Tell me more.
Hello, sir. Let me give you this binder of information about opera in Charleston.
That's right. That's basically what happened. We had been working with someone else who unfortunately was taken down a bit by COVID. And so he had said, I can't play with you anymore. But then found this guy who is, again, a giant history nerd, giant music nerd, and even sings a couple of the tunes when we stop at the corner of Church and Broad. He sings a couple of the tunes that from the ballad operas.
That's the great thing about him, I think, is because he knows so much history about Charleston because he is a certified tour guide, but then because he's also a musician and has studied music, he knows everything that Leah has given him and can marry the two things together. Excuse me, and say, okay, so this was happening at this time in the world of opera, and this is what was happening in the world of politics or in the world of globalization, and how those two things came together and kind of synergize. It's really amazing.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Well, speaking of singing in opera, let's talk about this concert we have going on Valentine's Day or Dimitri's birthday, whichever you like to think about it. I like to think of my birthday as a national holiday for myself. Sometimes it falls on Martin Luther King Day. Depends on the year. So it's
Happy
called
birthday,
thank you. It's called A Celebration of Love. It is on Dimitri's birthday, like I said, on Valentine's Day, February 14th at 6:30 p.m. at the Dock Street Theater. So how did this concert idea come about? What types of songs are we planning? Not to give anything away of what we're singing, other than our La Boheme Rent collaboration.
Redulger.
Yeah.
Redulger. I don't know. That's a terrible. That sounds like Rodolfo. I'm tired, guys. We've been chatting for a while. Not saying that's a bad thing. But yeah, or just like that our guy.
Right.
Yeah. So aside from that song, tell us about the concert, who's performing in it other than you two, because I know that if you do want to get tickets, you can also tell us where to go, and there's a little advertisement on your website, also on your Instagram, which you'll also like share the news and the information about all that stuff as well.
Well, the inspiration for the concert came from the fact that we are a couple, we are performers, we're artists, performing artists, and we know a lot of other people who are also performing artists that are either engaged or partnered or married, and more often than not, they don't get the opportunity to perform together. And so this concert was kind of an opportunity for that to happen. And as we started, calling and asking all of anybody who would be interested in it, we ended up coming up with this really great group of 4 couples, 8 singers, and they spanned from Broadway to opera, which is really wonderful. And the concept, it's a celebration of love, like the title says. It's there are many different kinds of love, and so
unrequited is a theme throughout musical theater and opera,
right?
Also,
but this is an opportunity to just
and all those things.
Yeah,
exactly.
I don't know about rom-coms, but it's unrequited and then it turns into something different. But
yeah.
It's the journey. It is a celebration of
or should I just say like dating in general, especially in New York?
Yes.
Sure. Absolutely.
Dating of 2024.
Yeah.
Not to like bring out what my personal life is, but for those who listen to the podcast, I feel like know at this point.
That's the thing. It is love as because in the world there is a lot of the antithesis of that. And so this concert is taking a large group of people and artists who want to make I really don't mean to be so soapboxy about all of this. I do mean to be soapboxy, but like, let's put love out into the world instead of anything else. Let's put compassion into the world and empathy and kindness and all there. Everyone loves someone, right?
Yeah.
Parents, kids, lovers, on and off agains, you love the guy who makes your coffee every morning. Who knows, right? Like there are so many versions and kinds of love that are good and sweet and wonderful that to me is a better spending of our effort than being nasty to each other. And so we thought we'd put it on Valentine's Day, for fun, because why not have Dimitri work on his birthday, right?
Well, if you're doing something you love, isn't that the cliche thing of like, if you're doing something you love, it's not work?
Yes,
Right.
It's
That's
a
right.
celebration of loving what you do.
Dimitri, who knows? Maybe Leah will have the entire audience sing happy birthday to you in an operatic way.
Oh, I think I know. I think I.
Oh, okay.
I think I
That
know.
has.
Yeah.
We may or may not have done that one or 21
Many
times.
Has that also happened to you while fireworks are going off?
Yeah,
Leah?
I think
Yeah.
you've had personal fireworks.
I have had a personal
shows
fireworks show when
yeah.
fireworks were not allowed.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I got
Well,
fired.
very rebellious. So, where can those who are listening interested in going to this concert, where can they find information? Where can they buy tickets to the show?
You can certainly buy them at the door, at the Dock Street Theater. You can also go online ahead of time and buy them. I would urge anybody to go
Online
online
where?
at our website, which is www.holycityarts.org. There'll be a nice big pop-up that shows up 3 seconds after you get there. You can just click on that and it'll take you right to the ticketing site. And I urge people to do that because
is a thing.
yeah, exactly. We have, because we're Halo, we want to be as kind of immersive and as engaging with the audience as possible. So we've added something. So it's not when you come to this concert, you're not just coming and seeing people sing all night. You can actually do things to make the evening as tailored to you as you want. So whether it comes to like where you want to sit, for example, we have seating on stage right next to us, next to the piano, next to the singers. Yeah, exactly. And you'll get champagne and chocolates while you're up there. We have performance, we have receptions that are happening before the show, we have receptions that are happening after the show, and if you want to come to one or both of those, you can do that. We also have these really awesome add-ons where, again, because of our love of sporting events, we're having a kiss cam. And so if you wanted to, surprise the person that you're bringing to the show by putting yourself with them on a kiss cam, you can do that. You can actually request a song that one of us will sing if you wanted to. And so, there's a time limit to that. We need to be able to learn the song if we don't know it. Yeah.
But we've extended it.
And then so there are lots of different options that you can choose. So basically we made your Valentine's date really easy for you if you wanted to. You just have to go to the one website and you can do whatever you want with it and have a really wonderful time and a really unique experience, which is what we create. For
theater listeners, Matt Shingledecker of Wicked.
I'm aware of who Matt Shingledecker is because he Spring Awakening.
Because what? Oh yeah, Spring Awakening.
Yeah,
yeah,
that's right.
Matt and his fiance Caitlin Finney of Phantom of the Opera fame are going to be here. He is from Charleston, so we're very proud of our local, our Charleston native people as well.
Yeah.
Tamar Green, who is currently George Washington on the Broadway, and his beautiful wife Lindsay Roberts are coming down. And our friend John Dooley, who was in the carousel with me at Lincoln Center, and his beautiful bride, Shannon Kessler Dooley. They live in Wilmington, actually, right now. Sorry to tell where everybody lives, but...
You want to give the exact street address as well?
I do, actually. Yeah.
Yeah. I did a podcast this past summer and someone's like, I live in this part of this town. I'm like, do you want to also give them your exact street address because you have 1 million Instagram followers?
What kind of toothpaste do you use?
No, he was like, oh yeah, I live in this part of London. And I was like, do you want to give them your street address? Why are you telling people that?
Yeah, no. No, it's just we're from all around. We're from
Mhm.
all the,
Oh,
facets thereof.
yeah.
And yeah,
Yeah.
we're excited. It's going to be really, really fun. And we're doing a little, we're obviously each doing some solos, and then the couples are doing some duets. And then
Mhm.
we all mix it up a little bit. Everybody's mixing it up. Sisterly love, brotherly love. It's going to be great.
It's a great
It's
concept.
Other
really
kinds
fun.
of love. We're gonna hair it up, sing
Yes.
the sunshine in.
I
Yes.
mean, it's a
Why
great
not?
idea. You are full of good ideas. That was
Now I
hair
think
was
you guys
not
need to
yet
do
on the
hair
program.
somewhere, like on a field,
Amazing.
Yeah.
smoking pot. I don't know, or like a truck performance, but with hair.
It's not that. Yeah. Well, that's not legal in South Carolina yet. So,
Listen, I don't smoke it, so I couldn't even tell you like where to buy. I mean, they have like smoke shops where you can buy it, I think. I don't know. I've never
in
done
New
it.
York, you just like you. I mean, I walk
Just like
through
walking on the
clouds
street. Yeah.
every time I'm there.
Well, I think it depends on where you walk. And again, they have like so many like smoke shops in the area now.
Yeah.
But then they have, I think again, this is like from someone who has never smoked pot, but they have so many different types of marijuana, like products and all that. Like I wouldn't even know where to start, It's not
Yeah.
my
Just
thing.
don't even start. Don't even.
It's not my jam.
Yeah.
Not my jam. So, what are your hopes with Halo, and where would you like to see the company grow? And is there any other things you would like to do with it or expand or work on more or what have you? What do you hope the future is of Halo?
We have big, big, big dreams for Halo. The ultimate vision is to have an open air, waterfront
Mhm.
proper theater, opera house, sound acoustically pleasing,
Yeah.
gathering space, green space,
Mhm.
community space. Um, and as you asked about the name earlier, we started as Holy City Arts and Lyric Opera because that's what we do, right? That is our wheelhouse is lyric opera. That is opera, musical theater, all
Mhm.
of that. But the overarching vision is for Holy City Arts. And it's all of our handles and our website and everything is holycityarts.org. And because obviously the ultimate dream is to be the umbrella organization for all professional performing arts.
Mhm.
If we, ballets and Shakespeare companies and straight plays in general,
Mhm.
there is a lot of potential in this town for growing something that um grand, and doing so through collaboration
Mhm.
is just, it takes growth. And in a time where the arts are sort of collectively suffering and humanity collectively maybe doesn't see their value as significant, we're trying day by day to welcome the community into the understanding that the arts are life changing, life altering, life sustaining, the
Mhm.
same as food and water,
Essential.
education.
Mhm.
Yeah. And to collaboratively build that dream, right?
Yeah.
We're not shoving it on anyone. This is not, when people say, ugh, opera, we're not like, ugh, you. It's just not. We're the
I've had people say that to me when I'm like, I don't like this show, and they get so offended. And it's like, I like this musical, you don't like it? Cry me a river. Like,
Yeah.
I get it.
some people don't like ketchup on their French fries,
Yeah. I don't like mustard on my hot dog, so sue me.
Right? But no, don't just like
How dare
embrace
you?
our
You
differences.
saw that, Dimitri. How dare you? I
Embrace.
also don't like pickles, and I am like on my dad's side of the family, that's like heresy. They're like, you don't like pickles? So whatever. People have their things.
People have their things,
Mhm.
and we should, appreciate that
Yeah.
about people.
Yeah. Do you guys have any top-going theater experiences throughout your life of seeing, could also be an opera, could be a dance performance, could be something you were a part of maybe, or just any top-going theater experiences that you have?
I mean, I still stand by when I was a student at Interlochen, Larry Rackleff was leading the orchestra, and we did Shostakovich 11th Symphony, and I was playing celeste in that moment in time. And I have never in my entire life, it was like in a Hollywood movie, the end of that piece is so emotional and so full of percussion, and like you just feel like you're being rocked. And like in Captain Marvel, the new one, where she finally finds her power and breaks through it was like that's what happened. The whole everything just exploded, and then it was silent and nobody moved, and his arms were up. The entire audience, it's like 3,000 people there, and everyone on the stage, and it was like the lake stood still. It was wild. I have never been a part of anything quite that powerful, that collective, that yeah.
Mm.
I stand by that story.
That sounds
Forever.
great.
It was so cool.
Yeah. Dimitri, what about you? It's something you don't have to be in this, but if it's something top-going theater, something you were in.
I don't know. I mean, at the time that I was at the Met was pretty special,
Can
and
you just
I did
repeat
see
that?
that
Because
production of
it broke up a
Level
little bit
M.
again. I'm sorry. Can you just repeat what that
Sure,
was?
yeah. No, I think that the first thing that stands out most to me was the first time that I saw an opera at the Met, and it was La Boheme,
Hmm.
and it was really special. For me, it was a really amazing experience to see. I had only just started learning about opera, and my only experience with it was in school, and
Mhm.
then to actually, see it done professionally and at that level which was just ridiculous. That was a really special moment. I mean, I think I've been part of experiences that were life altering, for me, like as a musician, like Leah. There were some moments when I was in Potsdam College and we were singing with the Crane Chorus, and we had done the East Coast premiere of uh, Martin Lauridsen's Lux Aeterna,
Mhm.
and it's just a really powerful piece. Or like doing Carmina Burana. I mean, these things, like when you're growing as a musician and you're a part of them for the first time, and you feel that collective breath at the same time, those are moments that are seared in me forever. um so yeah, probably they're probably a little bit more balanced towards things that I've been a part of as opposed to things that I've experienced as
Oh,
an audience member, I would say. um just because the emotions are running so much higher when you're part of the performance.
yeah. Okay, so we're gonna do the Inside the Actor Studio questions now. Are you guys ready? Like
Okay.
Leah is very excited about this when I said we were gonna do it. Okay. What is your favorite word?
Go ahead, say it.
Well, it's what I've been waiting for. I like
I
wait
know.
to sit on the actor studio. Fuck is my absolute favorite word. Absolute favorite word.
Great.
Hands down.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Hands down. It's the expressive nature of it
Yeah,
all.
and you can use it in so many different ways.
Yes.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Dimitri, let's try to top it. What's your favorite word?
I don't think I have. I mean, you probably would be able to answer the word that I use the most, therefore might be my favorite word. I don't know.
Guys, I just would like to say this is not the newlywed game. So let's not go there. Uh, just because it's a word you say a lot does not mean it's your favorite word.
Right. No, that's true. That's true. You know,
Yeah,
I got all clammed up when you even first asked that in the beginning, you know, when you said we were going there, and I don't have an answer for it.
that's
I don't
fine.
know.
You know what? We're gonna
So
move
many
on.
words. There's so many great words. Like that's
Give me one. Give me, maybe it's a word that you get to sing in your favorite opera.
I don't know about that.
Okay, great. What is
Sure.
your least favorite word?
Favorite word.
Leah does not. She cringes every time I sing in my best Queen's accent. Seesaw, knock on the door.
Oh
Who's there?
God.
It's
Are we
not
gonna get,
door,
do
it's
you want me
door.
to, do you want me to talk in a Queen's accent? I
No,
don't know what
I
that
mean,
means.
like
No.
you want your podcast listeners to
Hold their ears.
stay engaged. Yeah.
I can break out a Long Island accent. Okay, so what is your least favorite word?
Least favorite word?
No.
Mhm.
Ooh.
Is
That's
it
good.
ooh? Is that your least favorite word is ooh?
Oh
Yeah.
no. No, I don't know.
Is it umbilical cord, even though
Sometimes I have a problem with the sometimes I have a problem with the word moist, not always, but sometimes.
Listen, it's a common least favorite
Yeah.
word. It's
Yeah, I
fine.
know.
I don't remember if it was on my podcast or if it was on an actor studio, but somebody said you don't want to have moist, like you don't want to feel it or taste it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's a common one. Don't
Yeah.
like, live your life.
Yeah.
Okay. What turns you on?
Mm.
Intelligence.
Dimitri.
Mm. I don't um that's really tough. I don't know. I can't pinpoint one thing. It's just like
You could say, let's say like
I'm
three things.
terrible at this.
Just says Leah the whole questionnaire.
Just ask them all to lay. If I think of something, I'll chime in.
Right. Okay. So, Leah, what turns you off to me besides Dimitri not answering these questions?
Um uh People who quit.
Dimitri, anything? You have nothing that turns you off. People who don't like opera? Because you
No.
were getting pretty hasty before when you were like, when people say they didn't like this opera, and it's like, you read a book and you didn't like it. Is that going to stop you from reading books?
Well,
That
yeah,
whole
I mean,
thing could be a turn off.
maybe just closed-mindedness, I suppose it could be it.
We
Yeah.
we figured something out. Now, I feel like the next one I'm gonna know Lay's answer to this, but I'm gonna ask it anyway because that's a part of the questionnaire. What is your favorite curse word?
Fuck. Like in its all different forms.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, that was the dog. Also, she's running away now because when
Does she bark the word fuck as well?
no, she runs far away when I use the word fuck.
So
It's
like
not.
she knows.
Yeah, she's like, oh, mom, that's not necessary. It's too late at night to
Yeah.
use. Because I don't use it. It's not like an everyday, especially now with the kids that I like rid
Yeah.
it from my vocabulary.
Mhm.
Although, shout out to Effin Birds. I don't know if you know him at all, but it's a exceptional use of the word fuck in all kinds of phrases, sentences, thoughts.
Yeah.
It's really good.
And what is this? I'm so sorry.
It's called Effin Birds.
Oh yeah, no idea what
I
that
have
is.
the desk calendar.
while
Oh,
she's fishing that out, I will say, like, if I stub my toe or like do something that really annoys me, the words, the train of words that come out are usually "God damn it, fuck motherfucker." That usually those are the three words that come out
got it.
in order like that. So that might be my. Oh yeah, there
Is
it
that a
is.
turkey? Oh, pardon me while I get the fuck out of here. I feel that. I feel
But
that.
it's right. It's like a whole
I think you
calendar
need
of these beautiful birds.
I think you need a new desk calendar of that.
I I do.
Yeah,
I
because
do.
that's from last year at this point.
Also, the best part of that calendar is when our 6-year-old comes in and
Reads it.
Nice.
He knows this is the room in which he is allowed to say that, and it is only as long as he is reading, because I am proud of him for reading.
Teach them young.
Yes.
Only curse when you read it off of a bird's
Mhm.
daily calendar from 2023.
I'm telling you, he's got glassware. It's a whole thing that can just, you can be enveloped by fuck. Oh, it's so good.
What sound or noise do you love?
Ooh,
My baby's singing.
okay, that's
My
pretty good.
babies in general, their voices.
I kind of
Dimitri.
like seagulls too.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say, are we skipping over you? But you said seagulls, so we're gonna move on. Now, are you guys gonna do a production of the seagull and just have seagull noises to make Dimitri just like really like in the moment?
Totally.
It's a performance art piece
Yeah.
where
Yeah,
it
so
turns out
where
that's what
everyone
turns Dimitri on. He's gonna just lay on the
it's the
beach with
production of the seagull performed by people dressed as seagulls
Yeah.
making seagull noises.
Yeah.
We're gonna go back to what turns you on.
How do you say seagull in Klingon? Because that would be really special too.
You know, that is not an answer that I know, and I probably wouldn't. I'm sure you can Google it. And oh, now we're gonna make the seagull set in Star Trek land. We're having all the ideas at like this late
Yeah.
at night. Okay. What sound or noise do you hate?
I do have a problem with a fork scraping the plate. That I get like this thing in my jaw that just like makes it completely cringe up every single time. That's that's a thing that I've got.
I understand.
Yeah.
those really obnoxious people who make their motors and mufflers make horrible loud sounds that scare you to death
For no reason.
for no reason.
Like pimp out your ride type of.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Just like
I
the
don't
big
even know.
mufflers and like
Yeah, I don't know what the technical term for obnoxious human in the car next to me who needs to like go but for like we're at a stoplight in
Yeah.
South Carolina. Let's everyone calm down.
What sound? Wait, no, we already did that. What profession other than your own would you like to attempt?
Archaeology.
I used to say like carpentry or to be like a a contractor.
Mhm.
But now I'm thinking a little bit more like fishing boat captain kind of thing, maybe.
Okay. What profession would you not like to do?
Mm.
I think garbage pickup doesn't thrill me.
I don't know. I haven't thought about that. I'd like to keep my my open-mindedness about all professions. I don't know.
Cool. All right. So we move on. So, and finally, if heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
You made it.
Dimitri, are we skipping over you or are you?
No, I don't know. I no. Hi. Hi? Welcome. Welcome. I think welcome would be nice. Be
Okay,
nice to feel, yeah.
lovely.
Yeah.
So I always ask this final question, why theater is important, but because you guys don't do just theater, you concentrate more on the arts. And I do feel like throughout our conversation for this episode, it has been touched upon. But my final question is, why do you think the arts is important?
Because they make the world a better place. They, the people who make art, the people who consume art, the people, the moments that happen between the people who are creating and consuming,
Mhm.
um, presence, conscious or subconscious, so that you go out into the world with a better understanding, a new perspective, an ability to think differently and see differently and absorb the world differently and behave differently, hopefully for the better. But the arts enable healthier beings individually, which in turn enables and creates a healthier society.
Yeah.
Dimitri, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I mean I would absolutely agree with all those things that Leah said. I think also um you know the fleeting moment of it, you know, the fact that whatever it is that the artists and that their collaborators and the audience and everybody, wherever it is, if you're in a theater, if you're in a field, if you're, you know, doesn't matter where you are, that that experience is there and then it's gone. And what I think is so amazing is what you take from it, you know, from that moment, um and how it can shape your life, and the importance of knowing that, the importance of knowing that those things um not in either, you know, um but that is part of the importance of it too, is that any opportunity to experience something betters you. um um and art is a great way for that happening, because art by nature brings people together, at least the performing arts do. But even something like the Mona Lisa, you know, you get hundreds of people shoulder to shoulder experiencing that one thing at the same time. Everybody gets something different from it, right? Some people think it's too crowded, blah 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 blah, and that's how they experience it. But other people are just like completely on it and in it, you know. And that's what's so amazing about it, is that everybody can take away something different from it.
Yeah. I experienced the Mona Lisa myself, so that's why I was nodding the way that I did. It was very crowded. I waited my turn to get up to her. She and I had a moment, and then I let the sassy gays behind me have their turn because they said something really obnoxious, and then I turned to them and I said something obnoxious back and I left.
There you go. And you'll always have that moment.
Yeah, I'll always have my moment with Mona. She and I looked in each other's eyes, and it was great. And there we are. So I just want to thank you both so much for coming on. Before we sign off, just please remind everybody where they can go again to get tickets for your concert or learn more about Holy City Arts and Lyric Opera / Halo. And if any of our listeners want to get involved and maybe learn more about what Halo does, maybe if they want to be involved in a production or so, how would they be able to reach out to you to learn how to do that?
Everything's on our website. Please go there to holycityarts.org. As Dimitri mentioned earlier, for this upcoming concert, there's always a very nice pop-up window for our upcoming concert, that our Valentine's Day concert is there right now. It will lead you to a place where you can get tickets, or just come to Charleston and come to the Dock Street Theater, 135 Church Street. I will give that address. And to find out about all kinds of things, auditions, employment, what we've done in the past, what we are planning for the future, you can find all of those in our drop-down menus. But if you want, please, you can either send us an email at info@holycityarts.org, or there are places on our website where you can send us a note. It says, "We'd love to hear from you." We would love to hear from you. And you can also sign up for our newsletter. We send out e-blasts about once a week, sort of, with photos, with information, with where we're going to be next. We did over 30 events in January to December of 2023, which was kind of insane. From our pop-up national anthem appearances to our full-scale productions. So anyway, we want everyone to feel welcome and included at Halo. We believe that everybody has a voice to share, and we would like to hear it.
Also, where can they follow you on social media?
Holy City Arts, everywhere. Find us everywhere. Instagram, Facebook. I think we actually have a Threads account. We have an X account.
Yeah, we have an X account, but I don't know how often we use it. But Facebook and Instagram for sure.
Yeah. Is there a TikTok? I don't have TikTok. I refuse to get one.
Yeah, there's no
Ends up
TikTok.
on Instagram
I think
anyway.
we have one, but I'll tell you what, if any one of your listeners wants to create our TikTok content, please get in touch. We have so many ideas and absolutely no capacity or understanding.
That's where you have to hire like a social media manager to be like, I couldn't even tell you how to make a reel, where to start, what to do. I don't know if it's age or laziness. I just don't care enough. And I don't think people care enough to just like see a reel of me dancing around to Harry Styles.
Yeah.
But I also wouldn't put that out publicly. So there's that.
Yeah. No, get in touch. Yeah. Tell us your skills. I'm sure we need
how do we make a TikTok? Thank you. So
in a world where there are like Scorsese's and Spielberg's like everywhere now, right? It feels like everybody's just got like this content that's just unbelievable. Yeah, we're definitely looking for somebody to be like, just put something up on TikTok and see what happens.
You're in Charleston. I'm sure if you put out there that you are looking for someone to do like social media for Halo, you will find somebody. Social media nowadays, I don't think is a very hard thing to find somebody. Get one of the younglings in. You sing opera, you like TikTok, join us.
Yeah, exactly.
Like the arts, come make us a TikTok.
Yeah.
All right,
that
cool.
person could be listening right now.
Yes, they could be.
Email info@holycityarts.org.
And go see their concert on Dimitri's birthday, aka Valentine's Day. Anything else? Should I just not say your birthday? On Valentine's Day.
There you go.
All right. Well, thank you guys again so much for coming on. You can stay on when I'm done recording. And thank you all for listening. Have a good one.
Thanks.